How's it going, everyone, and welcome to another episode of No Excuses on VTWProductions.com and YouTube.com with your favorite show hosts, Still.
Fenarian.
And Volacel, and we're here to bring you the latest news and commentary on the video games industry for the past week. But first of all, if you would like to get involved with the show, you can easily do so by sending us email at noexcusesvtw@gmail.com, or you can follow us on the Twitter at noexcusesvtw, or you can join us in the Discord server, most easily accessed by clicking on the link in the show description underneath this video on YouTube. Or alternatively, you can get there by going to vtwproductions.com and clicking on the show logo on any of our recent show posts, and that will take you directly to our Discord server. You can, I guess, post memes and harass the various other people in there
That's
by
pretty much all it's for.
posting jokes about Hitler.
The only reason I posted that is because it had the capitalism hoe and reciteer as the avatar for the dude that posted it.
Oh,
I see.
boy. Oh, well, this is taking an interesting tone already. So, on the stream today, and this is also probably the game I'll be talking about for most of my week, is Journey to the Savage Planet. Yeah. I actually quite enjoyed this game. It is dumb, it is kitschy, and it is all kinds of fun exploration nonsense.
Does it reach your required standards for savagery of planets?
I mean, Chapter 1, no. I actually got through Chapter 1 without a single death, and that's even by self-inflicted stupidity. Chapter 2 does make a bit of a jump up in that, at least, so you will die occasionally. The game is very light, it's very fluffy, it's kind of you could forgive someone to comparing it to Metroid Prime. It does strike a lot of the same notes in terms of the exploration, where you go out, you get yourself an upgrade, and you do your first-person platforming to get to secret areas and get secret goodies.
Metroid was never that savage.
No, not really.
It's not something. Savage is not a word that I associate with Metroid at all.
Except maybe for what Metroid Other M did to the franchise.
Let's not have that discussion again.
We've been there, done that. So yeah, the game, it's very bright, it's very colourful. It does have a lot of FMV ads for made-up products. As you see on the screen now, this is the introduction video, which is all FMV. But I find it actually works, because normally FMV in video games is appallingly bad. Unless, of course, Tim Curry's in it. But, it's kitschy, but it works for this game.
Have there been any recent games that have tried to use that technique?
For actual gameplay, there's been a couple of indie games. A couple of really cringy woke fests have done it. It's like...
It's not really games.
No, it's like talking to some girl across an interrogation table and apparently something happened. That's one game.
That's not a game, though, is it?
No, it's... If anything, it's closer to a visual novel, if anything, but...
Well, if it's a visual novel and it uses FMV, is that not just a television show?
Where every now and again you need to press a button on the remote, yes.
Yeah, well, every now and then I need to press a button to, get up and go to the bathroom when I'm watching a show as it is. So I don't see how there's any real difference there. So
yeah.
The FMVs are for in-game adverts, are they?
Yeah, so you've got your sleazy corporate goofball type who, in the actual official promo videos he puts out, are very cringeworthy, but they're overblown, and he's very happy and psychedelic and all that. Then his private videos, he's a bit more down-to-earth and slightly creepy. But yes, there's also a bunch of ads that play in the game, and therefore things like, we'll see one probably very soon.
Speaking of,
Oh,
does anybody remember what Peter Molyneux promised about Syndicate Wars?
I can't honestly remember. It kind of fades into that mass of Peter Molyneux promises.
Now, I could have this wrong, because it was a long time ago, like a really long time ago, like 25 years ago. I don't know how old Syndicate Wars is, but apparently he had promised way back in the day before Syndicate Wars came out that so it takes place in a sort of a future dystopia, right?
Yeah.
For those that don't know.
As you do.
And as I recall, he had promised that if you put a DVD in your computer, that DVD would play on the advert billboards in Syndicate Wars.
Oh, right. I do remember something like that.
But it was a Peter Molyneux promise, so...
Yeah. So it never came to be.
It came to be to the exact same extent that Real-Time Trees did.
Yeah. Let me see. Full motion video, though, is making a kind of a bit of a resurgence at the moment. Like, you're getting your indie games. You've got it in Savage Planet. The ads they put together are very, very strange. Essentially, you got one that's selling Mystery Food X as an actual viable food product.
It's people.
It's probably people. You have one which you only unlock in Chapter 3, because you get more as you go through the game, which is Wedgie Burger, which is a really sleazy, questionably hygienic burger chain. And it was actually one of the ads that really got me an actual laugh when they start showing how the burger's constructed in the way that the McDonald's ads do. When they suddenly have all vegan patties and it's, 100% free range stuck up vegans.
I see.
So, yeah. And that brings us to the humor of the game, which is constant.
It sounds pretty dark too.
Oh yeah, there is definitely a dark undertone. Like, Earth is supposedly some sort of hyper-industrial wasteland. It's gone for that old chestnut. But, yeah, it's not quite as bad as Borderlands 3 was in terms of its humor. Like, Borderlands 3 is oversaturated to the nth degree and terrible, terrible jokes.
Yeah, Borderlands 3 hurts sometimes.
Yeah,
A lot of the quote unquote jokes are not funny.
The example actually that one of our extra driver brought up to me yesterday, I believe, was the pizza bomb quest, where it's you pick up a bomb and it's 3 minutes of pointless exposition about pizza bombs, and then you pick up another one, and then it's another 3 minutes of pointless exposition, which is trying to be funny, but it's just not.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Are you browsing Arthur Donald while we do the show?
Please don't. That sounds like a terrible idea. The fact that Art Donald is actually a thing.
I've started to love the Donald.
Well, we're definitely getting banned from YouTube now.
Yeah. You've just
jokes about Nazis won't do it, but Arthur Donald will.
Oh boy. He's so memeable, though.
Well, no, the subreddit, The Donald, has the most memes per minute of any political anything on the internet.
Yeah,
and
I could believe that.
If you sort it by top last 24 hours and check once a day, you can find some really ridiculous stuff on there.
Anywho, so yeah, like, where was I? Savage Planet's humor. Like, everything is a joke. Like, when you can just run around and kick these potato-looking bird things. A lot of enemies goosh into a very satisfying shower of goo when you kill them.
Goosh.
Goosh is about the right word for a few of them.
Does that count as onomatopoeia?
Yes. Yes, it does. So, yeah, it's... Every bit of flavor text is a bit of a kind of a gag, or at very least a pun. You've got your AI companion, who's kind of snarky and kind of bitchy. But overall, it's a good, fun experience.
Surely your dogs aren't starting this early.
I think he abandoned us to go take
Fix
care of them.
Dogs.
So the dogs really wanted to be on the show. They made a few guest appearances near the end of some shows, but this is the first time they showed up in the first segment.
I mean,
Stalling for time, Fern.
it's
Get back
easy-
here.
it's easy for him to abandon the show to his co-hosts so that we can do stuff. Except the problem is that it's during his
Okay.
week. So if he ditches us now,
All right, is that
we're in
working?
trouble.
There we go.
Yeah.
So
We-
yeah,
we stalled.
the cat just jumped off my desk and took out my headset cord while he was at it. That was fun.
That was deliberate.
That was deliberate because cats are furry assholes. So yeah, where was I? Savage Planet is good. Go play it. Geez, how far am I along in it? I've been kind of exploring every zone as I go along. So I've gotten a lot of the stuff along the way, but that's still maybe 6 hours. I haven't reached the end, but I'm in the final act. So I don't know, give it maybe a 10-hour limit on this game. Alright, what else did I do this week? Nothing.
That's not great.
It's been,
It seemed that you were working all week, from what I could tell.
it was the lazy, my low end of the work swing, so it's like the least amount of hours that we get in this rotation, but everything else happened because, I had to go do tech support for people again.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you don't want to end up being the tech support guy for your family and peer group, you need to carefully conceal whatever competence you have in that area.
Yes.
Like that's how you get landed with jobs that you don't want, is that you fail to be incompetent, publicly
Yeah.
incompetent.
You need to be the right level of incompetence to ensure a happy life.
You have to give the illusion of incompetence.
Yes.
You have to let other people in your friends and family group believe you are incompetent, and only perform your job competently when there's money involved, and make sure as few people know about it as possible.
Yeah. But, so thankfully, that was the final components of my parents' computer that needed replacing, this time being the case, which, means the most amount of work possible.
Well, yeah, I guess in terms of moving parts around, but
Yeah.
Well, that's the part that I hate about working on my computer. Is the having to move crap out of the way and rearrange crap.
Yeah.
Because I've got my hard drive, my case is full to bursting with hard drives, which means there are wires running everywhere. So every time I want to do anything, I have to rearrange them all and try and get them all plugged back in where they were.
Yeah. I mean, you could consolidate them into just one or two big drives, but that is a lot of work.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of money as well because
Yeah.
I really do intend to consolidate everything, but let's see how many. If I count the number of things showing up on my computer, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 drives, and most of them are one partition,
Yep.
and they're all a terabyte or more sort of thing.
Good
So
grief.
buying something big enough to accommodate, my 1 terabyte drive, my 2 terabyte drives, and my two 1.5 terabyte drives to consolidate them is going to be expensive.
Oh my yes. What's on them anyway? Just animes.
There's about 1.5 of them are filled with anime. I think one of them is probably just filled with junk that I've never had time to clean out. A lot of it is filled with like legacy stuff that I couldn't get again if I wanted to, and
Yep.
I'm afraid to let go of. And
Yeah.
one of them is playing host to my library of Steam games. So
at least it's hard drives and not floppy disks.
Yeah, that'll be your week.
I threw all of those out.
Yeah.
Just
I've got-
foreshadowing.
I've still actually got a hard drive here. Let me see. It's
I sold my last floppy drive. I think I don't think I've got any left.
that's a 1 terabyte drive. What was on that? When I did my my computer replacement, this is the old drive I took out, or an old drive I took out, and I can't remember what on earth is on it.
Yeah, I have a drive sitting here, but I don't know what it is. It says 8,455 megabytes, which seems like an odd number.
That is kind of an odd number.
Must be a 750 gig drive.
Yeah. I don't know. So yeah, that's the job I always dread, is when you go back and find old hard drives and things, and you need to just figure out what on earth is on them and what in a lot of cases, what on earth were you thinking?
I have four.
Mhm.
I have 4 hard drives and storage in one of these boxes around here, which is all old stuff, like
Yeah.
really old stuff, like Ranma and 240p.
Yeah.
But I don't think I can. I don't think I've got any hardware that can actually read them anymore
Yeah, maybe.
because I don't have any IDE motherboards left.
I got a external hard drive adapter a while ago. It's in my storage cupboard there somewhere, so that's very useful for this sort of thing. But
I think
last
might have
time I
one
went, I
around
found a mystery hard drive in a cupboard and installed it. It was like something like 500 megabytes of Total Annihilation mods.
somewhere.
So yeah, I kind of went a bit silly with mods on that game for a while.
There was a really cool. There was a really cool 40k total conversion for Total Annihilation that I used to play.
There was. It's a shame Planetary Annihilation didn't quite hit the same notes.
I don't think that I can think of very many cases where someone has tried to make a spiritual successor and actually succeeded. It
Probably
seems to fail more often than not.
probably the first Supreme Commander, and that's about it. The second one, just no.
What the
And I feel-
fudge is even on my external?
I feel like Supreme Commander had enough gimmicks that were original to it that it didn't need to succeed at being a spiritual successor.
Yeah. Planetary Annihilation, like, it's got some of the same mechanics, but it's also got that full orbital, multi-planet gameplay thing, which kind of makes it its own beast as well.
But it seems like the whole genre's on the downturn at the moment, and I can't imagine what it would take to rescue it at this point.
The roast...
Blizzard has done it no favors.
No.
Was it you, Vern, that I played Subcon 2 with?
Yes.
Yeah, because I didn't play it very much. I think like 80% of the games I did play were with Fern.
Yeah, I played
thought-
that one game against you and Sleep, and I think I ended up just stomping all over you.
Yeah, you did.
I don't think that either of them probably had anywhere near as much practice as you did.
I played a lot of Subcom.
Yeah, it was like, what does this tech tree do? How do I get to the giant robot?
Yeah. Oh god, what is going on? Ah, good times. But yeah, as far as recent RTSs, if you don't count the abomination that Blizzard just recently crapped out, you've got Spellforce and you've got the Age of Empires remakes, I suppose.
Spellforce is a terrible name for a video game.
Oh, it is. It's the absolute worst possible name. But it's still fun. What I'd really like is a retake on the first Dawn of War game.
I see.
I mean, it wasn't balanced. It was about as balanced as the tabletop version of Warhammer at any given time.
We got further and further out of hand as time went on.
Just kind of like the tabletop as well, admittedly.
Yeah. Although I don't think that they really had an excuse, since power creep doesn't actually help you sell more product in video games.
Nope, no, it does not. But the unnamed supposed last expansion kind of ruined everything. But just like it was basic RTS gameplay, but it was wrapped in such a glorious oversaturation of ham. It was wonderful. And honestly, the accents on half of those characters, you have absolutely no idea what they're actually saying at any given time. Between their accents and their shouting. That I think I will call it about for my week. That's really all I've got to talk about. So yeah, go play Savage Planet. It's actually good. You know, if you're after some sort of light, silly exploration type dealy. Alright, so Vol, what have you been doing, sir?
Right, so technically speaking, I guess I've got 2 weeks worth, but I don't remember anything that happened week before last. And it was,
Admittedly, you did come back and kind of fill in the important bit last week.
yeah. Okay, so as always, a certain substantial portion of my time was filled in with mobile games, so I'll hit FGO first. FGO did the Valentine's event, which was ridiculous, as most FGO events, particularly the smaller events, tend to be. It
Mm,
followed a storyline involving chocolate production. It
because
was
of course it does.
It was Cookie Clicker, the FGO event, and that you're basically the objective is to improve your chocolate production so that your drops get multiplied to increasingly ridiculous levels.
Yeah,
that you
so we interrupt your regularly scheduled waifu battle simulator to bring you the absolute worst idea in gaming ever.
Yeah, except all the purpose of it is to accrue chocolate so that you can deliver and receive Valentines.
Of questionable dubiousness, I suppose.
Many of them are in fact extraordinarily dubious. Many of them have clearly remembered at the last minute. Many of them do not seem to care that chocolate was what was asked for by the tradition, not ice cream or dumbbells or any kind of other weird, any number of other weird things. So I having failed miserably at Setsubun simply due to the fact that it was on an impossible time scale for me and a substantial portion of the rest of the player base, due to originally having been released on Golden Week for Japan, where they had simply more time at their disposal. I was pretty annoyed about it, largely because I think I would have been able to hit my targets at least if I hadn't had a ridiculously busy week at work. So I was pretty determined to get this one out of the way and cleaned up. So I didn't intend to clear out the shop because I very rarely bother to these days, since I don't really feel the urge to get all of the materials unless they are materials contributing to something that I'm currently actively skilling up. But I did clear the entire 60 million chocolate production ladder in about a week or so of a 2-week event. So I've been able to rest. I went absolutely bonkers on it for the first week and got it all done out of the way, and now I can forget about it. So I'm just basically periodically going in there clearing AP, although I don't really even need to do that. But that's been a blessed relief from the absolute debacle that has been the past few events, which have been, lottery after lottery after lottery, and then Setsubun to top it off, and it's just it's like they're trying to burn me out. I'm looking forward to the Lost Belt coming out, since that's what I'm really there for ultimately, is for the storylines, and the Lost Belt storylines are all very, very strong apparently. That when it comes to Arc 2, they have pretty much put all of their eggs in the story basket. Although there are some other events coming that I'm interested in as well, like I'm interested in the next Guda Guda event, because
not another one.
It's got a really cool welfare servant who is another one of those dual servants, like Anne Bonny and Mary Read.
Okay.
Being what's his name? I'm trying to remember what his name is, but since it's a Japanese one, it's not a historical figure that's easy to bring to mind. Sakamoto Ryoma and the dragon that always accompanies him, Oryo. And they seem like a fun pair, and that will be coming out this year. But I think there's also a Sable Wars rerun this year. I think Kara no Kyokai might have a rerun this year, and Ari will get his opportunity to try and push Shiki up to NP5. But
I'm gonna be rolling for what's her nuts.
Fujino.
Fujino anyway. So any Shikis that come along for the ride will get added to the Shiki food.
Well, I mean, the thing is, you'll have to decide whether you're going to target one or the other, or pull on a banner that has both.
Oh, do they alternate like that?
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't.
Because Shiki's 5-star and Brain Fart is a 4-star.
Is she? That doesn't sound right.
She's 4 stars.
Asagami Fujino. She is too.
So I think they'll both be on the banner the whole time.
She's so popular as an anchor that I assumed that she must be a 5-star. But yeah. Anyway, that's coming out later this year. Sable Wars, I'm sort of curious about because MHX Alta is one of my favorites from that particular slice of the universe, and while she doesn't feature in it, her existence basically owes itself to the original Sable Wars event, which I missed just barely, having started as it was coming to a close. So I was trying to clear Fuyuki at the time that Sable Wars was going on, and having very little good fortune with the gacha at that time. But in Japan, they've moved Saber Lily over to the Friend Point gacha, which I suppose is really only fair considering her stats are 3-star stats, which is part of what makes her so bad. Even though they've buffed her considerably, she's still not very good. But I missed her, and I kind of want her for completion's sake, because I think that's the last welfare that I'm missing of the ones that have come out so far. But at least it won't matter if I do miss her, since she's going to end up in the Friend Point gacha. And I wonder if they will eventually do that with a lot of the other welfares, that they'll eventually move them, the old ones that you can't get anymore, into the Friend Point gacha over time, so that they aren't, gone for good. And that tends to be what Azure Lane does. Like, long after an event has had its last rerun, they will eventually just put those the servants limited that were associated with that event into the limited construction pool, or into the general construction pool, so that you can get them eventually. Like, they'll be exclusive to people who were participating in the event for a very long time, but eventually, if you hang on, you'll get there in the end. But yeah, so FGO is sort of like on the back burner at the moment, because I just don't have the energy to play 2 gacha games full on.
Yeah.
But I also don't have any immediate targets to level up, so I'm not too terribly worried about that. All of the thing I feel like I've got a relatively stable roster at the moment that allows me to do pretty much everything. Like the challenge quest for Valentine's, I waltzed in and whomped it in one go, just by assembling the right sort of team. Although it was another situation in which I solved my problems with liberal application of Kiyohime, which appears to be my solution to most problems. I gather most people use Raiko, but some of us don't have that luxury. I have finished maxing out Ruler Martha's stats, which means that Kyozurka's next up, because she badly needs the extra stats, being, by nature a 3-star, even if I have leveled her to 100. In Azure Lane, they have started the Polaris event, and the Polaris event is the idol-themed event, where it's basically the excuse plot is that they are trying to develop a new set of rigging designs that are based on idol singing as a power source, obviously.
Of course.
Because that makes perfect sense.
I mean, it's not the first time that's happened, and it works.
No, like
the
entire thing is basically a knockoff of Symphogear so far.
Pretty much.
But they've gone to a surprising amount of effort. Like, there's the same usual stages. There's some limited characters. I've gotten 2 of them out of the construction pool already. I think there are another 2 or 3 more for me to get from the construction pool. One of them is earned by participating in the event. But they are not really designed for general use, this particular lot. It's designed to use all of the idols together, because they give bonuses depending on whether the bonuses differ depending on whether you've got an odd or even number of members in the fleet, but they tend to reinforce each other much more strongly than anything else. It's always based on how many of the Muse series boat waifus you've got. So I'll probably try and pull for all of those. Pulling for all of the limited servants available in an event is actually a reasonable hope in Azure Lane. Like, I've managed it for a couple of events before, pulling literally every servant available for every boat waifu available for that particular event. So it's a doable thing. It's not like you can't reasonably hope to ever get a 5-star, no matter how much quartz you pour into it. You can just, cross your fingers. There's no point at which you're going to hit statistical expectation, but it's actually something that a lot of people accomplish to manage to do it in Azure Lane. And since that you don't ever need to pull multiple copies because you can substitute the appropriate generic fodder ship for leveling up things that would normally require dupes. So yeah, it's very, very friendly on that count. The most of the usual things are in place for the event, the usual levels and challenge levels and that sort of thing. But the interesting thing about this is that they have built an entire rhythm game and just bolted it on.
Because of course they have.
There's I think something like 5 Azure Lane themed songs and a full-fledged rhythm game with multiple different difficulties and mechanics. That is just going to be used for the duration of a 2-week event, and they're not anymore. They just made it for that.
It's okay. Idaroos will make full-blown mini games with multiple difficulties just for April Fool's Day.
Oh, FGO made an entire Pokemon Go knockoff for that.
Oh, geez, they did too.
And they did another one which they made a full-scale 16-bit JRPG as well for one of them. They go out of their way for April Fool's stuff, but April Fool's is sort of a special event. But this is just a generic. Event that has no particular attachment to anything on the calendar or anything like that. It doesn't really figure into the storyline in any way. It's not a celebration of any kind. It's just like, hey, we'll make this rhythm game and we'll attach it to the game and we'll have original music written in order to facilitate it as well.
It's honestly sounding like it's just celebrating one of the writers finishing watching Symphogear.
It could be. It could be. But Akashi makes a joke about it at one point as well, about them trying to basically ride the popularity wave of idols. I will post it in the live show chat if I can find a picture of it. I think that's it. But yeah, I actually kind of enjoy the mini game. It's got decent legs, but I can't seem to quite match the timing properly, and I think that might be a factor of that the timing has to be a bit soft because the sheer number of different pieces of hardware that it's going to be played on. So it's got very generous grading on how accurate your hits are, and the hits that don't ever seem to quite perfectly line up with the music. I'm not. That's not even strictly true, because if you did play it in time with the music, you would probably get the good result, but it doesn't match what's on the screen very well. Like the instinct is to hit usually a bit earlier than the music would suggest. I don't know. Maybe I think that it seems to get better the higher up you crank the difficulty, but the higher up you crank the difficulty, it gets a lot harder. So I haven't spent a lot of time testing it out in that particular way. But I'm not really that concerned about it. I'm only playing it for funsies anyway. It's not as if I'm wanting to master it or anything. Although it's got a built-in button to share whatever your scores were on social media. So there's a lot of those buttons in the game actually.
Can we not?
I don't know if people use it. I've never seen anybody using it per se on social media itself, but the potential is there if you really wanted to. There's actually an event quest where you've got to share a post made by one of the boat waifus on the in-game version of Instagram on social media, but you don't actually need to share it on social media to complete the quest. All you have to do is attempt to do so. So if you cancel it before you interlock your software with the social media thing, then it still gives you the credit.
Oh, so, that's something at least.
But yeah, it's a fun little game. On that note, the Steam version in English of Azure Lane Crosswave came out, which I bought. Now, I can say without too much reservation that it's an awful game.
But it's an awful game you're looking forward to, sort of.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I say it's an awful game, and it is an awful game by any reasonable metric, but it's blatantly obvious that the game was never the point. The point is that basically that there's sort of limited amounts of material of the various ship girls interacting in the mobile game. Like, it's relatively limited. And the whole point of this game is basically to give a whole bunch of popular characters screen time and interactions and a story to interact with, so you can see, how do these particular characters behave in these sorts of situations and so on and so forth. Like, it's about the visual novel side of the game more than it's about the actual playing the game side of the game. Mm-hmm. So the reason why I'm so keen to emphasize what an awful game it is because I don't think it's a good idea to buy it, for the reason that if you consume any of the visual novel content, you're going to surpass your 2 hours Steam refund time, because it's mostly visual novel. Like, time spent watching cutouts of characters talk vastly outstrips time spent using any of the game mechanics at all.
Yeah.
So if you were to purchase it just to see what it was like, you would get to see the game at its absolute worst in the tutorial stages and a whole bunch of talking. So it's obvious that the whole point is to sell the game to people who like the characters and want to see them do things. That's what it's about. The actual mechanics, as far as I've played, are not. They feel very, very crude and unpolished. Like, they're serviceable and they do everything in a, insert tab A into slot B manner. Like, they mechanically do the job with very little polish or panache of any kind. It's almost that the game is there as an excuse. Like, the game of Azure Lane as implemented by the mobile game is better than the one implemented in the full scale console and PC game.
Yeah.
To the extent that I've played it. It's just better. It's a better game. They're totally different styles of game, but it's just a better game. Honestly, the issue is that they probably tried to transition to another genre and then realized that it just wasn't working far too late to backpedal and try something else. So there's just a lot about it that doesn't work very well. I don't know if it's going to improve as the game goes on, but I have a difficulty seeing how it would.
It doesn't seem like it. It seems like the whole thing just exists to sell you something based on the power of waifus.
Yeah, and at that it does the job reasonably well. And, the combat is extremely mindless, and they know that it's mindless, and they know that it's going to be used for grinding primarily. And the reason why it's clear that they know this is that they are very happy to facilitate your grinding. Like, the second that you finish a level, they give you, before they return you back to where you got selected the level from, they will immediately give you the option to just do it again with all the settings held constant.
Just why?
Well, because you're going to grind it for materials. Because the leveling and skilling up and raising your equipment and tuning your equipment for particular purposes seems to more or less align with the mobile game, so you need a lot of junk, basically. The story seems to be relatively interesting, considering. Well, the easiest way to describe this that would probably generate the right sort of connections in the mind of the listener would be to describe it as being a lot like Neptunia in terms of the general crudity of the mechanics, but the fact that they're all in service of a totally different goal, which in the case of Neptunia is console waifus, and in the case of Azure Lane is boat waifus. Because mechanically, Neptunia is garbaggio. They get better as time goes on, as multiple iterations go on, but this is the first iteration of an Azure Lane console/PC game, and it is about as good as the first iteration of Neptunia was. So yeah, I feel like that's the correct parallel to draw there, and ultimately it is all about it's all about the characters. For whatever reason, they've decided to focus it very tightly a lot of the time on Shimakaze and Suruga, who are both. I think that the characters were originally developed for Azure Lane Crosswave. I have Suruga in the mobile game, but I think that she was released to mobile as part of a promo for the Japanese release of the PC console game. So it's quite tightly focused on them, and they are surprisingly they have a bit more personality than most characters that you get as a result of a franchise producing a platform exclusive character for a particular title, which are normally those types of characters are extremely bland because they exist for the purpose of facilitating screen time for actual fan favorites. That's the normal case. In this case, they both have quite distinct personalities of their own. Shimakaze is kind of annoying, and though because she's one of those characters who is quite happy to assert that their only redeeming trait is that they're energetic. But she's also excessively polite and has the IQ of a brick. So
fun.
I met some pretty smart bricks in my time.
Yeah, that's true.
She doesn't seem to have any real sense of reading a situation or priorities or anything like that. Like, she's the sort of person who will engage in a polite conversation with the enemy.
The sort
simply
of character
because
that you'd be a lot more annoyed with if she wasn't so damn nice.
Yeah, she's very. You never see her be mean to anyone, and unfortunately, that includes the enemies. She doesn't want to be mean to the enemies either. But she's also got an ex-crazy streak. So, once engaged in combat, she is all about beating the crap out of things, but politely. And Suruga basically plays the straight man to Shimakaze's other kind of straight man, where Shimakaze's type of being the straight man is that she's such a straight arrow that she can barely comprehend what's going on around her. Suruga is a character who has her external behavior and her internal monologue, and her internal monologue is basically constantly complaining about what's going on around her, while her external appearance is trying to appear cool.
Oh dear.
So they have a certain amount of character of their own that has been relatively well developed, simply due to the fact that there are two of them rather than one. Because that's, I think, usually the problem, is that when they develop characters like platform exclusive characters like this for a lot of franchises, they will just do one, and that character will basically just become a camera to view the other characters with.
Mm-hmm.
But because there are two in this case, they spend a lot of time interacting and developing each other. But yeah, overall, I absolutely cannot recommend anybody purchase this game ever, because if you do, you will want to refund it, but your refund time will be expired. The one exception to this is if you really like the Azure Lane characters, because that's the real value. So I'm actually enjoying my time with it, even though I can see the game is absolutely awful right down to the fundamentals.
Yep.
I'm still having fun with it because I like the characters.
Yeah, you can have fun with a bad game.
Yeah, I just wish it wasn't so bad. Like, it doesn't really seem like it's necessary to be bad, but I also could not advise the developers on how they could make it good.
Yeah.
Like, I think that they should have, if they were going to make a good game, they should have stuck to the formula that worked and made a really, really well polished Danmaku game instead of trying something else. Mm-hmm. Because while trying something else is great and all, they have failed in their attempt this time. It doesn't feel good to play. It just feels like it has the sort of level of polish that I'd expect of a Flash game in terms of how janky it is. Like, it's like all these features are there and they all work on paper, but when you implement it, ultimately you're just going to shoot things until they disappear.
Just end up in a mess.
Yeah, it's just not good. I can see what they were trying to get to. They were trying to get to a naval artillery Muso type of thing, but the thing is that naval battles aren't actually very mobile.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They are all about positioning your ships many kilometers away from each other and then shelling each other.
There's the battle. Have anybody played like Battleship, the board game?
Yeah, it's like
There's
that.
There's a reason that game is called Battleship.
Yeah. I mean, because you've got boat waifus, I mean, a battle, kind of a naval-based Musu game would probably work with the waifu concept, but...
Well, they can fly. They're flying boats, so...
No, they can't. If they could fly, they would not be aircraft carriers.
Oh, it looks like they're hovering over the water in the game.
Well, they aren't hovering over the water. They sort of skate on it, like ice skating.
Weird boat skate shoes.
That's the case for all the boat waifu games. They all work like that.
Oh, okay. I thought they were flying over the ocean.
No, it's like ice skating.
Yeah. But I suppose the problem with having, the Musu-based game on the ocean is your terrain is just one big flat field.
Yeah, and there's no getting around that. That's the reality of the situation, which is why it lends itself so well to bullet hell, because the terrain is always trivial in bullet hell.
Yeah, it really is.
So I think that they should have stuck with bullet hell. They should have done really nice art for it and just really zhuzhed the whole thing up. And then once you've got a solid framework, then you can build on novelties to that. But instead, you've just basically got an open field of water that you fire at things in. And either it seems to take one of two forms. Either it's incredibly boring and you'll switch to a destroyer and fire torpedoes at battleships until they sink, or things are moving in such a chaotic manner that the only thing that you can meaningfully do is lock yourself in a circle strafe pattern and hope that you die before the enemy does. That's pretty much the core strategy, because the moment you try anything creative, things will get so chaotic you won't know what's going on. I don't know if there's more subtleties that will accumulate as time goes on, and there are various skills and things you can use, but I haven't had much luck with them. And the one thing that's really been sort of sticking in my craw about it in terms of minutia is torpedoes just seem way too powerful. I mean, I know torpedoes are powerful. Practically everything of note, every major ship of note that didn't get sunk by some spectacular battleship shot or a saturation bombing by airplanes got sunk by torpedoes from something. But I feel like they are a bit overpowered, and I think that might just be because I'm in the low end of the game, because all the really powerful torpedoes come from destroyers, and destroyers have like you start with two ships, Shimakaze and Tsuruga. The Tsuruga is a battleship, Shimakaze is a destroyer. So Shimakaze's damage output, if she can land her torpedoes on target, just is staggering compared to Tsuruga, even though Tsuruga is a battleship. But the thing is that Shimakaze's got like a third the health. So as the difficulty level ramps up, maybe she will become too much of a glass cannon to just, deliver a broadside to everything out the front. But I don't know. At any rate, the summation of all of this is, unless you're a real huge fan of the Azur Lane characters and don't care what the quality of the game is, don't get it. If you at all care about the quality of the game, do not touch it.
Don't.
I'm unsure as to, if I knew everything I have now, I'm unsure as to whether or not I would have bought it. I like the characters, and I think that they probably blew most of their budget on voice acting, because every little thing is voice acted. Like every scene is voice acted entirely. And considering Compile Heart makes games with zero budget, that's pretty impressive. But it meant that there was no money left to do anything else. Like a lot of the character cutout art is reused from the mobile game, which honestly makes sense because that's what people recognize. But I'm not sure whether or not I would have bought it, knowing what I know. I think that the odds are probably like 55% that I would have bought it anyway, even knowing that it's bad, because I like the characters. But the game is really bad. If the game matters to you, you're not going to like it, so just don't. It will annoy you. don't touch it.
Fair enough.
I got to play a little bit of Trails in the Sky second chapter before Crosswave came out. So it was quite easy to readapt to the mechanics since I had done a refresher of first chapter just before starting second chapter. However, the game is beating me like a drum.
I told you the early game is hell, man.
Like it's awful. They just don't give you they act in terms of pitching the difficulty like you have the full party you finished first chapter with. Except you don't. You've got like 2 dudes in no gear, in no quartz. So you end up, every time you take a hit, that's half your health gone.
Yeah, you got to get action current number you're up to on everybody as soon as possible for the first chunk of the game, just to make sure the enemy doesn't go first. Because if too many enemies go first, you can just get BTFO'd.
Yeah, everything is about having more actions. Like using clock up on everybody has just become the default habit now, because it's the only way I'm going to get enough turns to win.
Yeah, the numbers of speed have finally reached a point where clock up and clock up EX are now reasonable buffs to give somebody.
Yeah,
in Sky 1, the numbers are just too low in the speed stat for clock up to really matter until the very end of the game.
Yeah, it would result in Trails 1, it would end up like over the course of 5 or 6 turns, you might build up 1 extra turn. In this, in second chapter, it's more like over the course of 3 or 4.
Yeah,
so it's going to benefit you more than once per battle.
They've completely reworked the speed stat to not be just linear like it was in Trails in the Sky 1. In Trails in the Sky 2, every single point of speed is a huge advantage. You can wind up seriously having 2 or 3 turns in a row if your speed stat gets out of hand. Which you can on certain characters like Joshua and a few others.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how it progresses. They get you off to a nice easy start in terms of story tension. Unfortunately, the bosses have not gotten the memo on that, and they do not start you off easy at all. They start you off by spam healing themselves and one-shotting your characters. And I'm not playing on hard. I'm playing on normal. I'm still getting
an asshole. Remember the boss I told you? Oh, by the way, I had to quit hard mode because I literally couldn't beat it. That was Kurt round 2.
I actually had more trouble with Kurt round 1 than I did with round 2. Like with round 2, Kurt tried to fight me, and so I was actually able to beat him down. Like eventually, the only thing that matters in Kurt round 2 is calculating the exact distance apart to have your characters, to have the AI make the right decisions that are in your favor, because his AI is actually very, very simple, but you need to have the exact right number of squares between your characters, and over the course of the fight you should be able to roughly get them the right distance apart and keep them the right distance apart, that the AI will not decide every turn to do something that completely screws with your plans. But the first time around, you get him to a certain amount of health and he just heals every turn.
Yeah, this happens in hard mode as well. Once you get him below 25%, until he's at 75%, he's just going to spam heal. And he gets 3 turns in a row if he's got his speed buff on. Every single turn.
Good times.
Yeah, he's a jerk. Like, no wonder he's so highly ranked, because probably when he has to fight somebody, they just give up and turn themselves in by the time they've done wailing on him.
There's a whole lot of shenanigans going on with his character that haven't even been revealed yet, and we're up to the Cold Steel games. He doesn't need an ornament to use arts. He's the only character in the entire franchise who does not need it, and it's a plot point several times.
Does he know why?
He does. It's part of wherever he comes from's training. He can do, but all his arts are actually crafts, even though they have art-like effects. So he can heal and do magic and buff people with his crafts. He doesn't need arts to do it.
Yes, well, anyway, he's a jerk. I feel bad for Mueller. First time you meet him, he's escorting another awkward personality around the place.
Yeah.
He just seems to get all the worst jobs. The worst jobs in the Empire, they go to Mueller.
It's okay. In Cold Steel, Oliver finally gets his act together and can be left alone for Mueller to come, save the day once. and you don't ever see Mueller having to babysit him in the Cold Steel onwards.
All right. Yeah, so I was on sort of a predictable schedule at work, or semi-predictable schedule at work this week past, so I actually managed to play some video games, as it sounds like. I also played a bit more Extella, simply because I like playing Extella. Except I've hit the point where it's not as fun as it was, because it's hit that sort of, when you get in game in a Muso, you end up in feast or famine mode, which is the way I think of it is I call it feast or famine mode, because your characters hit max level, they hit the max stats that they are liable to get, and when you fight things at that level, it becomes either you blow them up or they land one hit on you and you die.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the zone transition style of Fate Extella, where the battlefield is divided into segments and you dash between them, sometimes you can appear in a segment and something will already be headed your way, about to kill you, because the AI reacted before you did, and you won't have a chance to do anything about it. Which is what happened when I tried to. My Liz and my Jean are both at level 150. My Tamamo is at like level 90 or 100 or something. I think it's at level 100, and I tried doing a level 85 quest, and I entered an area which happened to have Darius in it, and I instantly died because Darius had just attacked me as soon as I had registered that I entered the area, and I didn't have time to do anything about it. I just died immediately, and that's been a lot of my experience with more fragile characters like Tamamo and Liz, and that is that they just take too much damage. Conversely, Jean naturally doesn't do as much damage and has a defense stat that is absolutely bonkers through the roof. So I could probably go AFK and eat a sandwich and come back, and another servant wouldn't have managed to kill her. Like, she's just got a humongous amount of defense. So ultimately, when it comes down to trying to get EX clears to unlock new mystic codes and stuff, I always end up trying it on Liz, failing to get it on Liz because I take one hit or something which chunks my health bar and ends up getting me a low ranking for damage taken. Or I go and I just choose Jean, and then I can rush heedlessly through the game, beating the crap out of everything and ignoring all the things that come my way because she's so tough. But yeah, so it's sort of reached a point of endgame where there isn't really that much entertainment to be had other than some of the silly scenarios that play out. But both Extella and Extella Link have some very nice comedy moments. Particularly in Extella Link, a lot of them stem from the fact that Tamamo is no longer allowed to be the villainess and has to try and act civil with everybody. And she's just not that great at it. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm not sure what's next on the agenda for me to play. Trails in the Sky second chapter. I think that it's going to take me some time to build up momentum, because honestly the difficulty is really killing my momentum at the moment, especially since I came off first chapter from a second playthrough where I could basically play at whatever pace I wanted because I was murdering everything that crossed my path. Now
you'll get Chloe soon, and that'll help everything. Everything gets better when you get Chloe.
Yeah, at the moment it's just rough because I have to treat every battle like a boss battle. Even if it's something that's really simple and I can kill it in a couple of hits, the reality is that it could get a turn, one of my characters could die, and then suddenly I could be in dire straits.
At least you can just retry if things go south.
Yeah, and I've already had to do that because I had gotten used to just absorbing the damage from exploding things things that blow up when they die. Because
the egg things, yeah.
Because even the egg things, they weren't an instant kill. Now, those blue Nautilus things, that is an instant kill. No, not the blue Nautilus thing. I don't think it was something else. I don't know if those explode. I can't remember. Anyway, the blue Nautilus things were awful because they do like 1,000 damage to everything on the field every turn for no reason.
Yeah, those things are supposed to be mini bosses you can farm for okay quartz. I think it's like HP 2 or something.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, they are a do not fight. Because the cost of HP is too high.
If you're just going through the area, stay the F away from those things. But it gets much better when you get Chloe. Just Chloe fixes a whole lot of the early game pacing problems, and you've already got to the part where you've bumped into Kurt again on the beach.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he's helped a certain amount, but I feel quite bad every time I use his attack because, like, when I got him, he was doing 9 damage.
Yeah, Kurt.
Everybody else is hitting for 600 or 700, and he's hitting for 9.
Kurt hits like a wet noodle. Kurt's main utility is his ability to give CP to other people and his S-Craft, which makes everybody invulnerable for 1 turn at 100 CP and 2 turns if you get it all the way to 200 CP.
Yeah,
or not turns, attacks. It lasts forever.
I have been feeling though that I feel like the when the AI lets you use it effectively, I feel like the chain attack is disproportionately effective for the CP that you spend compared to pretty much everything else that you can use CP on is not as good.
I almost never use chain attacks. I completely forgot they existed for like the entirety of my playthrough after I used them a little bit in the early game.
Well, the thing is, I think that they probably do tail off, but in the early game, they are one of the few ways you can actually deal a credible amount of damage, particularly against bosses and things.
It hits you with some kind of, both characters get some kind of ATB penalty for it. I don't think it's very much, but it's enough to notice as the game goes on.
Get more speed.
Get more speed. But it's calculated with the enemy's speed stats in mind, so.
But regardless, it's something that in a lot of boss battles, like particularly ones where you get them below a threshold and they're going to start healing, it just becomes a spam chain every turn because it's the only way you're going to put out enough damage fast enough. Because I feel like from what I've seen so far, like they'll probably get new S-Crafts over the course of this game, but the old ones, the damage that they've done just doesn't scale well enough to make them worth using. Like, I tried using like Estelle's single target S-Craft, and it does like twice the damage of a normal attack. Like, why bother? It's not that you would be better off using that CP for anything else, and so that leaves chain attacks as the most prominent alternative damage dealing method. But yeah. At any rate, I'll get round to playing some more of that in due course. I think I can't imagine the Azur Lane game is that long. And then again, considering all of the money that they had left over after they paying the voice actresses probably went straight to the writing team, since there's no game to speak of. The story might actually drag on for quite a while, though I don't imagine that it will, and most Azur Lane stories end up being the same, which involves like some mysterious alien artifact will wreak havoc and the sirens show up. Everybody will stop fighting each other for 5 minutes, beat up the sirens, and then things will go back to normal. But yeah, there are a few odd quirks about Azur Lane writing, though, like because in the Azur Lane world, allegedly the 4 great nations have been mostly at peace for the longest time. Though depending on the particular incarnation of the story, they may or may not presently be at war. But the First and Second World War are referred to as the First and Second World Friendly, because it's sort of implied that they were a war games competition instead of actually a war. But it's sort of incredibly bizarre to see it referred to as the World Friendly rather than the World War.
Yes, it is.
It's heavily implied that it was a war games. They were war games competitions that took place in place of actually having a war, and that they did get highly political when they were going on, but the details are always omitted. But yeah, I'll call an end to my week there. I don't think there's much. Oh, actually, I did pick up one extra anime.
Okay.
On a whim, and that was, I can't remember the name of it now. It was one of those ones that has it's got a humongous name.
So some sort of light novel adaptation.
Yeah, almost certainly a light novel adaptation with a humongously long name that I'm going to try and find now.
Is it from this season?
Yes, it is from this season.
I
just picked it up arbitrarily. Here we go. Itai no wa iya nanode Bogyo Ryoku ni Kyokufuri shitai to omoimasu.
Yeah, okay.
That's, let's see, one. It looks like it's not very many characters in Japanese, but it's a humongous number of letters in English. My phone's going berserk. Why is it berserk? It's basically it's a one of the dynasty that proceeds from Sword Art Online because it's based on a VR MMO. But it's basically about a girl called Kaide who is finally convinced by her highly competitive gamer friend to try out this VR MMO.
This is the defense one, isn't it?
Yeah, so she's terrified of taking damage. She doesn't like the idea of getting hurt at all. And so rather than trying to build a balanced character, at character creation, because her friend isn't allowed to play because she's got very strict parents and is studying for exams. And she's been forbidden from playing games for the duration. So for the first episode or two, her friend isn't able to play and just looks on with envy, basically. But she's a non-gamer, and this is the first VR MMO she's played. So she has no idea about the concept of creating a balanced character whatsoever. So her line of thinking goes, I don't want to take damage, so I'll pick the one with the biggest shield, and I really don't like the idea of getting hurt, so I'll just dump all of my points into defense so I'll get hurt less.
Incidentally, the English title for this anime is Bofuri, I don't want to get hurt, so I'll max out my defense. Or,
Which is,
I hate being in pain, so I think I'll make a full defense build. I hate getting hurt, so I put all my skill points into defense. That is not a title.
That's a
description. That's a plot summary.
That is a plot summary.
But yeah, so she does this thing that is totally unintuitive to a actual gamer, and this basically sets the tone for all of her behavior in the game from then on. She doesn't know anything about gamer lore, about the way gamers see things like stats and items and in-game behavior and that sort of thing. She doesn't know any of that crap, so she just does whatever comes to mind. And in the case of stat allocation, that means constantly putting points into defense. And this is one of those games like as typically projected by anime, where the level up method is done primarily by doing things.
Mm-hmm.
So she sees a monster that is cute, and she will just play with it for a few hours because it's cute. It's trying to deal damage to her, but her defense stat is through the roof. She's in a lobby area, so it's not going to actually do any harm to her. But that basically means that her abilities that get learned by getting hit by things tend to skyrocket. So through these types of behaviors of just doing arbitrary things that normally in the starting zone, you do not like stop and let a monster hit you for several hours.
Yeah.
It's the first thing you do when you begin a game, but she does because the monster is cute. And it doesn't hurt because her defense stat is high.
She's got no idea what she's supposed to actually be doing.
Yeah, she doesn't know what she's, quote, supposed, unquote, to be doing. And so she bumbles her way through the game like this and ends up constantly uncovering broken strategies, ultra rare items, ways of defeating bosses that were never thought of by the developers but work spectacularly well and allow her to punch above her weight. She becomes like the number 3 PvPer or something like that in the world. Because she's just got this collection of broken crap that nobody ever uses because they couldn't possibly see a use for it. And she ends up winning like the big PvP competition by people throwing themselves at her and getting BTFO'd by her automatic defenses. And so basically, and then her friend eventually joins up with her, and they basically rampage through the game as a high evasion tank and a high defense tank who beat the crap out of everybody by exploiting broken game mechanics that the developers never tested properly. So every time the patch notes come out, it's always, she's taken the in-game name Maple, and all the message boards are shown as discussing every time there's a patch, they did this because they're trying to nerf Maple, or they don't want another Maple. And everybody...
like really crappy game design more than anything else.
This sounds like very typical game design.
That's actually true.
But
game design, this makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So she's actually, over the course of time, develops into a sort of a semi-urban legend, and everybody thinks she's like a cynical ace gamer who's exploiting mechanics. Because, well, she exploits mechanics, but of course she doesn't know that she is. She doesn't really realize because she's got no frame of reference. She's not a gamer. So, yeah, it's been quite a fun, very light and fluffy series. Like, it's the opposite of Sword Art Online in a sense, like, because in Sword Art Online everybody's expected to take everything seriously, whereas this is like Sword Art Online if everybody was actually there to have fun.
Yeah, instead of being overpowered because reasons, she's overpowered because she's of her bumbling ignorance.
Yeah, but she's always like completely guileless about everything. So yeah. At any rate, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. It's certainly not rich in any way. Nobody will ever remember it after this season, but it's fun.
Yeah, that's what you want. The only anime I've really been keeping up with at the moment has been Isekai Quartet.
Yeah, I've been keeping up with that as well, but it's actually managed to make me feel sorry for Aqua once or twice, which sort of surprises me.
Yeah, almost, but like then you just have to remember that she brings a lot of crap on herself.
Yeah, she deserves it. Like, if she was just less of an idiot, less of a selfish twit, then maybe she would not suffer so much. But, you know, suffering builds character, so deal with it.
If she'd stop whining for 5 minutes and actually listen to what people are telling her.
Yeah. I ordered a bunch of light novels because a few times a year I'll order a bunch of light novels and get caught up on all the series that I collect. But I added to the order this time the first book from the Slime, reincarnated as a Slime series, because I really enjoyed that as an anime. I want to see whether the source material is any good.
I hope so. Like it's just a good, dumb, fun anime. And yeah, okay, it's the overpowered protagonist, but this time it's overpowered protagonist because it's intelligence given to something that normally doesn't have any.
Yeah, and I like reading books generally. And especially Dead Tree format books, although I've continued reading the Monogatari ones in ebook format. And I'm freshly amazed each time I read, every time I read another one, at what an incredible adaptation the anime version was. Because it was done by Shaft, and it's Shinbo at his Shinboist. So everybody has a broken neck and talks endlessly.
Of course.
That's actually a perfect fit for Monogatari. Because standing around having utterly inane conversations where everybody is constantly trying to riff on everything that everybody else says is pretty much what goes on.
Is that everyone's doing it with their head at extremely strange angles?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. And the main character is exactly as much of a pervert in the books as he is in the anime version as well.
Of course. Just looking at the next anime season, it looks like it's going to be another one much the same as this. Like, there's nothing really jumping out.
Well, I think that the next season is for people who actually care about the things that are being sequels.
Yep.
Like, there's another Sword Art Online, another ReZero, another
Fruits Basket for people who really want that.
I have the entire manga series of Fruits Basket on my shelf. The entire thing, or however many of them that there are.
Yeah.
I used to really like Fruits Basket.
23 of them. 23 of them.
Second half of the Bookworm one.
Yeah, everything's seems to be pretty much sequels.
Yeah. Good grief! What is that? Hang on.
What?
I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce this in Japanese, but the name is the Misfit Demon King Academy. History's strongest demon. King reincarnates and goes to school with his descendants. That's the title. Why?
It sounds kind of generic.
It does, doesn't it? It sounds really...
Even the long title makes it seem even more generic.
Yeah. It's like Isekai... Wait, no. Just Isekai. Overpowered Isekai garbage.
I'm sure there'll be a lot of people looking forward to the Tower of God anime, since that's based on a really popular manhwa.
Yep.
Like, it's like One Piece level popularity sort of thing.
Good grief.
Except, you know, proportional to the manhwa audience as opposed to proportional to the manga audience.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not nearly as popular as One Piece, but it occupies a similar sort of extremely long-running adventure type story. At least that's what I gather. I'm not well acquainted with it,
Yeah.
but it's an acquaintance of mine talked to me about it once.
Oh,
but,
jeez, they're doing a new Yu-Gi-Oh series.
They're always doing a new Yu-Gi-Oh series. Whenever
Really,
a new
I
rule
thought they were just carrying on like GX forever or something like that.
Yeah, I got that
No.
impression. Well, they went to Zexal for a while, whatever the hell Zexal is.
Every time the trading card game gets a new master rule change, they do a new series to accommodate it.
And completely misrepresent that new master rule change, I assume.
No, they do. Like the whole point of the show is to sell more cards.
Of course.
So they do represent the new rule change well. But what's going to be hilarious this time is the new master rule change is basically saying we done goofed with Link summons, dudes. We're sorry. Everybody hated the last one, and by hated I mean the player base got cut in half, and we lost most of our revenue. So we're just making a new master rule that effectively undoes our entire Link summoning shenaniganery.
Right.
Does it involve motorcycles in any way?
No, the protagonists actually have comparatively sensible hair, though.
Well, the last one had them like on surfboards on the internet or something.
Yeah, that was nonsense.
Yeah, everything about Link summons was terrible.
Just ignore that the whole thing.
And there's of course the Digimon reboot.
Yeah. Yep.
Digimon, the monsters, Digimons are the
The
champions.
reboot that nobody asked for.
Yeah, this is a mystery to me. Like, what prompted them to do that? What do they think they're going to get out of that?
I don't know. I gave all my speculations when we covered it on the show a while ago.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is a mystery. It's a mystery.
it is a mystery.
Anyway, and there's a new season of Shokugeki as well.
Yeah, like, what really annoys me is they have, in the past, left off in the middle of an arc. And then they've made you wait 3 or 4 seasons. This time, they actually have a good stopping point, and they're putting out, what, 1 season apart.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to turn out awful. I've heard that it's due to go down the plug hole.
Well, where the story's left off now is if they stop the anime right at this point, it's great, it's fine, it's finished, it's done. We don't need more. The story is over.
We need more if the publisher says that we do. Apparently.
Yeah. So we need more completely inappropriate reactions to food.
I gather the final Evangelion movie should be coming out in the next quarter as well, along with the final Heaven Sphere.
How many asterisks are behind that? The word.
Well, final. It was always planned to be the final, and it has been planned to be the final since 1.0 came out. However many gajillion years ago that was.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure I was still an engineering student back then, but it was a very long time ago. But yeah, I've completely lost the plot on that one. The third movie was just like 15 curveballs all at once, and I didn't really understand what went on. But Heaven's Feel 3 will be coming out, so yay.
Yay. Are you ready to watch everyone cry?
Everybody's gonna happen if it goes to the point I think it will.
Yeah. What on earth? Okay, I might actually have to watch this one, Gleipnir. Apparently, a kid discovers that he's got a magical power. He can turn into a furry dog with an oversized revolver and a zipper down his back. He turns into a stuffed robot dog.
That's strange.
And it looks like it's trying to present as a rather serious piece.
Why?
I don't know.
That doesn't sound like a serious premise.
Yeah, I think I might have to watch at least the first 3 episodes of that. Just to find out what on earth is going on. Anywho, we should probably take a break.
We should.
Yeah.
All right, folks. We'll be back after some Muzak. And we're back.
Yes. And I will restore us to watching me being very awful at this game. Alright. So, Ari, your week, sir.
Did Val have anything else?
Nope.
Okie doke. What was
Squeak.
that?
That was a squeak.
Because it's summer, I've been drinking water out of a vacuum flask. Because
Yeah.
I've been greatly antagonized by how warm the water gets if I don't.
I see. Okay. That was something.
Did you just
falling
break
off
a
my
window?
desk. No, my remote fell off my desk and the back of it popped off and flew across the room for one of my monitors. But this week, government job shenanigans continued. Work was very busy all week long, and there wasn't anything real special. I just kind of locked myself in my office and told people I'm too busy, I can't help you right now. And I was busy pretty much all week trying to get this stupid MARTA job done and deal with other clients that would make calls at the time. I just didn't have time to deal with anybody's shenanigans this week, and everybody was getting real huffy with me, and I'm just like, too bad. Everybody at this office is supposed to be able to do their job themselves without me coming to help you. You've all got too reliant on me fixing your problems. So, it sounds haughty, and it sounds like I'm self-aggrandizing, and I am, but it's also 120% true. So, it's been driving me nuts. But the big thing this week was the start of the week. This dumb job needs a basin. We have a drawing of, had, past tense, a drawing of the basement, or the basin, for this stupid job, like, way back in the day, because we'd done stuff for MARTA before, and they always order the same size basin. We could not find it. It was not on anybody's computer. I dug on literally everybody who was still there. It was nowhere to be found. It was nowhere on the external hard drives that are just random and laying around the office. It was nowhere on any of the flash drives. And so, I had to bust out the floppy disk reader.
Yeah, this sounds like pain. Pure pain.
I found it. So there are like 400 floppy disks that my granddaddy labeled as drawings 1, drawings 2, drawings 3. Incredibly helpful, right?
Completely.
So eventually we got to around drawing number somewhere between 150 and 230 something. It was in that stack that I found it. that it was the basin I was looking for was in there, and I pulled it out, and it's a DWG file, but it wasn't built in AutoCAD, which is the program everybody uses. It was built in some other ancient drawing program and stuck on that thing.
I see.
So we had to find a way to convert this thing into something readable for AutoCAD, because we could pull it up, but we couldn't make any changes to it. And we needed to do things like rotate the pumps and where they're at on this stupid system for this basin he'd drawn up. And eventually I got it figured out. And whoever designed AutoCAD needs to go, commit seppuku or Sudoku. Don't commit seppuku, that's suicide, but you can commit Sudoku, and that's much more appropriate for an engineer. And just stop trying to do, program design. Because AutoCAD is the dumbest program in the world.
Yes.
Well, to be fair, it was probably originally used entirely with a command line.
That's true. That is probably true. And it is the industry standard for engineers. You cannot scroll across the screen in AutoCAD without enabling a special function and downloading an add-on. Otherwise, you need to get the little hand grabby tool and drag the screen around. Like, that's just the tip of the iceberg of problems with AutoCAD. The other problem with AutoCAD is every time you zoom in and out, it counts as a change to the document.
What? Why?
And if you undo something because you goofed and you don't know what you're doing, more than half, 90% of your undo button presses are undoing you zooming in and out trying to get what you need on screen.
Oh, boy.
This was a nightmare. And I'm lucky I found the basin thing at all, because about a quarter of those floppy disks just didn't work.
No, I'm surprised you actually got any of them to work, because discs lose their magnetism after a certain amount of time.
Yeah, something in there degrades and they lose their ability to be read.
Yeah.
But 3/4 of them work. They were stored very well in long boxes, but I don't think that would have any influence on the electronics inside of them.
No, it's just a matter of time. It's just natural degradation.
I mean,
Honestly,
it would protect.
I remember back
Yeah.
when I used to buy floppy disks. You buy a pack of 10, and there would always be one in there that was already dead.
Yeah. But yeah, 3/4 of these things worked, which surprised me. I had 2 floppy disk readers plugged into my computer, and I was alternating 2 floppy disks at a time.
It takes so long for them to load up.
Oh, and they're loud as crap too.
Oh yeah.
I forgot this about floppy disks.
Yeah,
Now these
clunk,
weren't the
clunk,
floppy
clunk, clunk.
disks, thankfully. They were the small, more solid floppy disks.
Yeah.
So the not floppy disks. But still. This
Good
took
luck trying
forever.
to read the 5.5 ones.
Yeah, the big giant ones that are actually floppy. Yeah, no, thank
Yeah.
you. I'm pretty sure none of those still work.
No, I doubt they would, because even if they haven't lost their, well, they haven't just degraded, some bugger would have folded them in half at some point.
Yeah, well, we have long boxes of those too.
Oh boy. Do you have a reader for them?
No, I don't have any way to read those. So whatever's on there, even if you could still get that thing to turn on and pull up, I don't have a clue what's on it because I can't read it.
Yeah.
I don't have an old school floppy reader, but I got the late '80s for floppy reader. I got readers for those type of floppy disks.
Well, I'm here to tell you that the 5.25-inch ones are even noisier.
Yeah, they are.
Those drives, the drives that you run them in, like you can get some that are quite quiet, but ones that are not quiet tend to sound like a diesel engine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had somebody poke their head in my office because I had those readers just plugged into stray USB ports sitting on top of my desk because I'm
I'm astonished that they even sell those.
Yeah, so one dude poked his head in my office like, "What are you doing? Do you have a jackhammer in here?" Like, I'm trying to pull data off floppy disks. And he looked at me like I was insane and then closed the door and left.
Yep.
So that was a mess. But got it fixed, got the basin out, called my basins, the supplier for our basins, who is different from our supplier of mostly everything else, and I've never talked to them before, and explain who I was, because apparently if you're a new customer, or the same customer, but it's somebody else on the phone, the same company, we have an account. This lady was so intimately familiar with us that she was like, "I don't remember your name. I don't remember your voice." I'm like, "Yes, that's because I've never ordered from y'all before, but our company has for literally years."
The thing is that sort of thing is like the most prominent scam in the world right now. There's social engineering scams where a person will claim to be a client or whatever, and then they'll try and fish for information that way.
Yeah.
Or in some cases set up a transaction.
So, yeah, she asked me for some verification that it was me. I forget what it was. It was fairly simple. I'm like, "Yeah, I got the company, whatever, laying around here somewhere," that she wanted, and read it off to her. She's like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And then everything was fine. But,
All right, here we
man,
go. So the magnetic field of floppy disks tends to degrade on average after about 5 years.
yeah.
Really?
So-
I've got 5.25-inch ones that were working just fine after about 15.
Yeah. I'm assuming it's because of proper storage. You can draw it out.
Yeah, those the ones that I was pulling out were in airtight lock boxes with a proper clamp top that fully seals it.
Yeah.
Mine were in a cardboard box in a damp room.
Let's see. Apparently they're still using floppy disks in the nuclear program for the United States. Wow.
That's because they can't afford to disconnect the computers that are connected.
They can't take
So
them
you-
down to upgrade and maintain them.
We have a few of the big 8-inch super floppy ones.
Good grief. Why?
They're in a packed away file cabinet in the back of a closet, and they take up like the corner of one of the drawers, and they're just stacked up there. I have no idea what's on them or how you read them.
Oh, dear. Anywho.
Yeah, so that was work, and work was a pain in the rear. But, yeah, the rest of my free time, I didn't have enough consecutive free time this week to sit down and do anything new or brain intensive. So I decided to replay through 2 games I'd already beat about 4 years ago and go back and complete them with the Platy on PS4. And so one of those I talked a little bit about last week and was a continuation of that. I played Hyperlight Drifter again and finished the Platy on that. It's not too bad. One of the Chivos is rubber band the controller, go to work and come back and you'll have it.
One of those ones.
You have to die 1,000 times on one save file.
Okay, so you just set yourself near a save point in a pool of lava and away you go.
Well, the game auto-saves every time you enter a new room. So you just get yourself down to 1 HP, have the game auto-save, and then just rubber band the controller so you constantly run off the edge and respawn over and over again. So that's what I did for one Chivo. And the rest of the Chivos were fairly beat the game on hard mode, beat the game where you only have 2 health points the whole time, beat the game without dying, which means save whenever you are at a safe save point, upload that save to the cloud, and then keep going, and treat that as manual saving, and every time you die, delete the save file and download it from the cloud again. So, got the Platy in that one. I still hear that stupid 230 beats per minute metronome in my head that I had to use to get the 800 chain dash Chivo.
Oh, yeah.
That sound has been in my head all week from last Saturday, where you have don't try and Platy Hyperlight Drifter. There's a reason its Platy is now my rarest trophy on PSN, and it's because of that stupid dash Chivo.
That is a stupid achievement.
Yeah, I guess Fall wasn't here for the explanation of this. There's a achievement in this game to do the technique chain dashing 800 times back to back without breaking it. And to do this, you have to, in a very steady rhythm, not too early, not too late, you have a window of about 8 frames when it's okay to press it. At the end of every dash, you can press the dash button again to chain off of the last dash, and the next dash will come out faster and cost less energy to use. There is a room you have to do this in, and it is just a circle with a big square. Well, yeah, it's a circle. Well, it's a rectangle, and you just have to go around this block in the middle of the room in a circle, and every time you make a lap, your energy is refilled. So you have to do this 800 times. You have to 800 times back to back, and the rate you have to push that button is 230 beats per minute. Exactly, 230 beats per minute. That is really, really fast for 800 times in a row. Carpal tunnel is a thing.
This sounds like a Mario Party game.
It does, doesn't it?
And you cannot touch the walls, otherwise you start over. Touch the walls, you crash, and your character will fall down, and you gotta start over.
Yay!
So, that was a right pain in the butt. So, I wrapped up the just play the game parts of that Chivo, and moved on to another game that I had sitting on my PS3 that I never got the stray rando trophies for, and that was Momodora, Reverie Under the Moonlight. I like this game a lot. It's really short, but it's an interesting video game. And one of the things I like about the developers of this game is they don't tell you anything about this in any of their games, but if you beat a boss without taking any damage, you get a special item that's very powerful. And it's not even required for the trophies, but it certainly helps when you're in the you die in one hit mode. So you need to be sure you don't take any chip damage from anything that's like stray poison clouds or something while you're fighting a boss, and be sure you get all these helpful items and run through that game. But it was fun going through that game again and going through it without dying, which is a really dumb trophy in this game because you have 2 options when you die in Momodora. You can retry, and that'll respawn you at the last save point you rang the bell at, or you can quit the title screen and load the game again, and that'll respawn you at the last checkpoint where you rang the bell.
Yeah.
To get this Don't Die Chivo, you just have to return to title screen every single time you die instead of hitting retry.
Okay, that just sounds annoying and tedious.
Yes, it's really dumb. Now the game loads stupid fast because it's like a 600 megabyte game, the tiny Metroidvania game that is not very long. So it takes like 3 hours to finish. I did this trophy in like 45 minutes because the game's so short once you know where to go. But there's one for not killing any enemies in the game that except for named bosses that are required. So you have to get the pacifist run. And what this turns into is just giving up on trying to do it legitimately and just equipping the items that make you invincible when you use them that do absolutely nothing. Some of them even give you detrimental effects, and just doing your best to ignore everything. Because the game clearly expects you to do legitimate platforming, dodge the one-hit spikes and stuff, but the game gives you so many items that make you invulnerable while you use them, that you use these to cheeseball your whole way through. So that was the only interesting part of the run, and getting this platy. The rest of the game, I've talked about it before. It's a really short game. It's a really fun game. If you can find it for $5, it's worth your $5 if you like the subgenre. I'm not going to go into it again because there just ain't that much to say about it.
That's it.
It's just a very simple Metroidvania game. But yeah, I got the. There was no platy for that one, but I 100%ed it and got all the trophies. And that's all there really was for video gaming. I didn't have time for anything else. I was super de-duper busy all week.
Yeah.
Government jobs just ate me.
They do.
One of the other thing, there's one little thing I can talk about that I did, but it was more something I put on in the background to have something to listen to. One of my friends is playing through Danganronpa right now, and they keep bringing up plot points that I've forgotten or don't know the specifics about. So I had all the English dubs of the class trials playing back to back in the background so I could refresh my brain on what the heck he's talking about. And went through the series trials again that way. So I do this once in a while whenever somebody starts playing and starts asking me questions about it.
Yep.
This is the second or third time I've done this. And once again, V3's ending only gets better the longer time has passed from my initial playthrough of it. I just like that ending more and more the more time passes.
Honestly, I think I might have to go back through and replay V3 at some point, knowing how that game ends.
Oh, it's a totally different experience.
Yeah.
Reading through some of the dialogue again, knowing who some characters are, one in particular.
Yeah. Yeah, like once you know what's going on and what the big bad is after and things like that.
Yeah, the foreshadowing is incredibly blatant on a replay.
Yeah.
But they totally just do a good job of leading you off into left field with all the red herrings. And but on a replay, you're like, how did I not see it before?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really good. And also, a certain character is lying because everybody forgets the opening cutscene to that game when discussing what's actually going on. So it's very likely our little mastermind at the end of the game in the last trial is just lying to you.
He's just outright lying.
In a game that's themed around lies, that seems to be the most likely thing going on.
And it's not the character who is constantly lying.
Yeah. So yeah, that's another thing I did in the background, and this has made this particular friend chain text me what I assume are screenshots he's found by going to like out of context Danganronpa Tumblr and Twitter threads and grabbing pictures and sending them to me, and right at the top with it. So I've been reinfecting people whenever I see one that's actually pretty good.
Yep.
And spreading that around. So that's pretty much the only thing I did. There's literally nothing I've done that I've had a significant amount of time to sit down and just do after work.
Yeah. You want to stop adulting yet?
Yes.
All right.
So yeah, that's my week.
That's your week. We has an email then.
Email.
Who wants it?
You don't want me to read it. Remember what happened last time?
If the inbox will come up sometime within the next several minutes, I'll read it. But
I've already got it up.
Okay.
So it is as usual from our good buddy Cerathus, and he says, "Dear No Excuses, getting old intensifies. Why?"
It was my birthday today, so yes, it does, Cerathus. That is an apt comment.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, how he's getting old has just intensified by another major degree.
Yeah. Anyway, he carries on. I just hit 32 and I'm already balding. Soon enough, I'll look like an insurance salesman or a used car dealer. But you know who looks like a door-to-door insurance salesman? Your boss in Journey to the Savage Planet. A ridiculously vibrant first-person shooter Metroidvania where you work for moderately sociopathic dystopian sci-fi future mega corporation number 1324256. You are sent to the titular planet to do some exploring. The only problem there is no planet there anymore. Only some large floating land masses and an alien tower, which baffles the eggheads back at HQ. Incidentally, by the way, I'll just break for a moment. You never actually see anyone who works for the corporation aside from the CEO. So that's a thing. Apparently, you are the first person to find signs of sentient alien life. So gather upgrades and go climb that tower while enjoying the banter of your Genki Girl AI. All in all, I say it's a fun single-A game, a bit short, a bit low at the number of upgrades, but only costs $30. You get what you pay for. And even more as you get to milk the lol cows of the perpetually offended. Oh, right. Because them gam journals over at Kotagon era got triggered by the word savage. I had to try not to go into a terrible accent there. Because it's colonial. Something tells me their heads would explode if they found out that S2 Games made Savage 1, Savage 2, and both games had a unit called Savage, who even looked like an Indian. Feather, not dot. And that's from Cerathus.
Is that going to get us banned from YouTube as well?
I'm going to steal Feather Not Dot for my distinguishing between Indians from now on.
I'm almost sure I've seen that before somewhere.
I'm not sure I've seen it somewhere. But yeah, this was a thing that kind of happened. I believe it was PC Gamer No, not PC Gamer. It was one of them anyway. He came out with this long rambling article. It was supposedly the review of the game, but they talked for the game for maybe one paragraph and then spent the rest of the review talking about the history of the word savage and its implications.
Well, they are referred to as the perpetually offended because they are perpetually offended.
Yes.
So this is pretty much par for the course.
Yeah. But, the word savage is actually correct. It's an untamed land. So... yeah, I know.
It was apparently Paul Tamayo of Kotaku who did the article. Journey to the Savage Planet is fun, but please stop using that word was the name of his article.
This is becoming a recurring thing. Like every now, actually, it's not even every now and again though. It seems like every month you'll get this review come out from one of the so-called games journalisms that they'll talk about the actual game for one sentence, maybe a paragraph, and then they just carry on about something that's completely arbitrary and pointless for the rest of it.
There you are. You didn't ask for this. You didn't choose this. Ellipsis.
Like the last one we had was Monster Hunter Iceborne, where it was, please think of the animals.
I remember that. Well, technically speaking, the premise of Monster Hunters is to think of the animals.
It is to hunt monsters. It says so on the box.
I think a lot about the animals when I'm playing Monster Hunter.
Yeah, it's like...
Much in the way I think a lot about animals when I'm cooking a beef burger.
Indeed. But the article is carrying on because, think of all the animals. You're a monster because you're invading their territory and you're killing them in their homes to make them into hats. So everyone's response was basically, you did read the name on the box, didn't you? So yeah, this is the latest completely idiotic outrage over absolutely nothing.
What about Macho Man Randy Savage? Do we have to go with Macho Man Randy not very nice?
Oh, yeah.
They wouldn't want to speak ill of the dead now, would they?
Yes.
It's a
Hasn't stopped them before.
situation.
Can we just not games journalism anymore, please? Can we just stop?
We stick our faces in there so you don't have to.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, I mean, I don't think anybody actually goes to those places anymore, really, because the only thing they ever do is trot out press releases from various publishers, and if you want to, you can get access to those yourself. It's not difficult. They don't have any special access or anything. There are only a couple of video games quote journalists unquote who actually have special access anymore, and it's usually because they've been corrupt in the past that they have that special access. So
Yep.
It's not worth listening to them in any case. By and large, you can get by just fine with YouTubers, and the thing with YouTubers is the market is so glutted with them that if one of them offends you, either because you're easily offended or because they do something shady, you can just move on to another one, no problem, because there are plenty around.
Yeah.
You can easily support the ones you think are worth supporting and not support the ones you don't think are worth supporting. YouTube's going to be pushing their membership thing like crazy, I'm sure, which will add another option for supporting them if you don't mind YouTube stealing some portion of the shekels you give them. They all have Patreons and stuff. I mean,
Yeah,
And-
a lot of
and
them are actually
most
moving
of-
away from Patreon, largely because a lot of them are getting banned.
well, there's that, but a lot of them still have a Patreon. It's one of the
Subscribe
options.
Star, whatever it is.
A Subscribe
term is.
Star will probably implode eventually because,
Yeah.
you know,
They'll find another
JW entryists are really good at what they do, unfortunately. Yeah, like, and a lot of the prominent ones have their own access now. They have contacts within the companies, like the really big ones, like what's his name, Michael Bell and Jeremy Hambley, and that, like, they know people in the industry. They've got actual contacts working at major companies now because you know the games industry and the public have both realized that video games journalism is a non-entity now. It's only video games journalists that haven't cottoned on yet.
It used to be that these liaisons would deal with the media and fork over their news and their press releases that way. But as the games journalist industry has become increasingly redundant, those people now shifted over, and now they're handling YouTubers. So yeah, you actually can tell with the official big name games journalists now, because they seem to be feeding on scraps a lot of the time. Like, very few of them actually have pre-release reviews anymore.
No, and nobody goes to their websites for anything other than commentary.
Well, what good
And the
would a
people that
pre-release? What good would a pre-release review do you nowadays? Because everybody is either in the pre-order camp, in which case the pre-release review doesn't do any good because they've already got it on order, or they're in the wait for the Let's Plays camp, where they all buy the things that become popular amongst the YouTubers and the people that watch them long after the release. Like there is no space for people deciding on whether to day one purchase or not based on a review. That doesn't happen anymore. Either they've purchased on like day negative 30 or negative 60, or they're purchasing once the YouTuber of their choice tells them to.
Yep. Even the pre-order crowd is kind of shrinking now because everything's become digital. There's no one who really wants to pre-order early to get, the limited edition scented bum wipes or whatever.
I pre-ordered Crosswave because you get Neptune.
Yeah, every now and again they'll get something that just kind of goes, oh, yeah, okay.
I still see the Teddy Bot bag from the pre-order of Persona 4 Arena.
Yeah.
He sits in my bathroom.
That said, I haven't actually used Neptune in the game at all because based at a glance, like maybe it levels off later on. At a glance, it looks like she's one of those DLCs that's just OP.
Yeah.
I don't know why they do those. I don't want to feel bad while using a DLC. It's strange.
I wouldn't mind them so much if you had to reach a certain point in the story or even the post game before those things actually became available. But a lot of games do that. You get some sort of pre-order or bonus that character that is horrendously overpowered.
Yeah, I actually used the overpowered gear in the first Rebirth Neptunia game because honestly, I played through it. I played through the whole game fair, and then I got to the end where I needed to grind for special bosses, and it's like, I can just make the grind faster by putting on a weapon that allows me to womp things ridiculously hard, and so I did that. But I despite having it, I refused to use it until I hit that point in the game.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you for your email, Sarathis. He did hit on a few points that I didn't really mention with Journey to the Savage Planet. I think about where the recording is about where I've started to actually click with the game instead of exploring everything and being completely dumb about everything.
If you use the word Metroid in your description of a genre, the idea is that you explore everything. That should be the whole point.
Yeah, but ideally it's you don't explore everything by just standing in the corner and slapping the same thing over and over again.
No. That sounds exactly how the subgenre works.
Yeah, I watched him playing Rabby Ribby, or was it Ruby Rabby? I don't remember. I watched Ari playing it, and he literally does slap every piece of the scenery, no matter what.
Yeah. Until you learn exactly what's what and what means
No. Even after he'd learned everything, he still slapped every piece of the scenery.
And I found a hidden wall 5 seconds after he asked why I was doing it.
It went for the old school where secret walls look identical to everything around them.
Yeah, sometimes you can get away with just using your eyes. Not most of the time.
Nope.
That is a luxury in games. That's a luxury in games like Hollow Knight where you can use the geometry to tell where a hidden wall probably is, or look at how it's designed, that it looks slightly different. No. Rabby Ribby, the wall might be fake. You better drop a carrot bomb in front of it to be sure.
Do you remember how they used to indicate them in Commander Keen?
Oh, grief. I can hardly remember.
They would, if there was like a place that you could jump into the wall because it was not a real wall, let's say it was dirt or stone or whatever, they would reset the texture repeating so that if you looked very, very carefully at the texture, there was a line where they didn't quite meet up.
Mm-hmm.
So you could see a passage drawn with the exact same texture as all the walls around it. It's just that it would not be repeating in the same pattern.
It would just be slightly off.
The brick layout would be wonky or something.
Basically.
Yeah, like you had things like the old school Zelda games. You could only really tell if a secret wall was such by poking it with your sword and listening to the noise it made.
If you were really unlucky, though, they'd just put something deadly in there. So.
Yeah. Or, hell, the original Doom where you just run around and punch every wall there.
Yeah, I sort of, like, some of the, like, if you look at, say, E1, M1, I felt like the secrets were actually sort of semi-clever.
Yep.
But as Doom wore on, I felt like they got more and more arbitrary, and it was just like, walk up to this patch of wall, which is indistinguishable from any other patch of wall, and use the use key on it.
Yeah.
To open up the wall for no reason. So whereas, in the early stages, all of them were like, oh, you've got to go to this place and operate this switch, which will open this wall and it'll take this time or whatever to do it. Like they all operated as mechanisms, but some of the later stuff was just like, oh, just go and punch the wall, and I'm
you just see some walls where the texture was maybe a slightly different shade and things like that. But at the end of the day, you just run around the room, rubbing your face on the wall and grunting.
Well, the thing is that if the texture was slightly different, then you could find it. It would be something you found. But my problem was with the ones where it didn't. Yeah. It's just, oh, well, this is a patch of wall and it opens.
There's absolutely no indication that it opens, but it opens.
I mean, it might be like if maps in games like Doom were constructed to look anything like a place as opposed to, a Doom map, then maybe you could argue that, oh, well, there should be something here, so that's why you would poke there, but no. Doom maps are completely arbitrary.
Yeah, and Quake wasn't any better.
Quake was worse.
Yeah.
I feel like Quake was worse because everything was brown and slate grey.
Yeah.
Yeah, color palette of Quake is. I never played Quake at any point in its life cycle where it was, a real video game that was relevant to the time and day, and it always turned me off with its color palette.
Yeah. Well, even in these cases where Quake had a wall that had a hint that it was there, you couldn't tell because everything was kind of this muddy brown color, so it all looked the same anyway. Anyway, thankfully Savage Planet doesn't have any of that. A lot of the really out of the way hidden stuff is largely based on perspective. And sometimes you just need to be in the right spot looking in the right direction to actually see it.
There's a common question that comes up in this subgenre of games where you'll be walking around and you'll go, "Can I jump up there?"
Yes.
This is how most secrets are found.
You can. Later you can jump up
A
there.
lot of
That's the thing that drives me nuts about Metroidvanias, and the reason why I've never been a fan of the genre is that I can never tell whether something is meant to be inaccessible or meant to be accessible later. I can't see the difference.
A good game in the subgenre will not care if you made that jump early, but you may be in for a bit of shenanigans if you get to a boss earlier than you're supposed to. But most of them don't wig out and break if you sequence break them. It's a big part of the subgenre where you can cheat and go wherever you want if you're good enough, or the secret tech in the game.
The problem is that I know a priori that I'm bad at platformers, so I could spend a quarter of an hour trying to make a jump that I simply cannot make with the current skills I have available.
Yep.
Simply because I can't tell the difference between me being bad and me not having the thing that I need, because I don't know if that thing exists.
If you wind up in the path of pain, you're not supposed to be there yet.
Yeah. With Savage Planets, there are the health upgrades, the orange goo, as it is. Some of them you can get to a lot before you're supposed to. Like some of them, you can look around and you can tell you need the hookshot to get to it. But you could alternately go around and jump on some slightly wonky world geometry and get up there anyway. But I haven't run into anything that really sequence breaks if you do get to it early. Like the bosses don't have anything like that. The boss, I've run into two bosses. The second boss being the one you need to get the slime gauntlet. But everything you need for that boss is in that room.
One of the things that I praise Hollow Knight so much in the subgenre for is it legitimately, for its mid-game, doesn't care what order you tackle the bosses. Mm-hmm. And it will actually accommodate this by having multiple upgrades allow you to get to new places.
Yeah.
Like, maybe you got the double jump because you went to the bottom of the train tracks and went underneath the horrible, terrible, scary abyss. Yep. And you beat the broken vessel. Or maybe you went to the Crystal Spire and got the Crystal Dash that lets you dash across until you hit a wall. And either of those can give you access to the old high peaks. And you can go up there and get stuff. But it doesn't matter which one you got. You just need one or the other.
Yeah. Like, I've run into things in Savage Planet where it's like, okay, you can get up with the hook shot, or you can get up there with the super jump, or the triple jump, or the bouncy bod. The bounce pad. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff there where it's just, you have options.
Yeah, a good game in that subgenre will allow that.
Yeah. There are a few where it's because you need the hook shot and only the hook shot to get there, or the grind shot, or whatever. But you're going to get that. So, yeah, it is a good game, and I didn't mention that it is actually fairly cheap. It's $30. Admittedly, if you want on the PC, you gotta go through Epic.
Yeah, not doing that.
Epic lately has kept their heads down, at least. They haven't really improved their platform, even slightly.
Give it time.
Keeping their heads down is the same thing as not getting better.
Yeah, but at least they're not getting worse for a change.
The only reason Capcom stopped being a verb is because they did something.
Yeah.
They have to take proactive action to fix their boo-boos before I'm willing to give them a shot.
Yes. Instead of digging themselves deeper in the hole, they're just sitting in the hole now. Anywho, we have some news of sorts.
We have a little bit.
Alright, who wants to pick one?
I guess I linked most of them. I can start us off.
Yeah. Take a pick.
So I missed this last week. This completely slipped by and didn't hit my radar because I don't follow League news anymore.
Yep.
And this made my jaw drop that this would even be okay. So the new League of Legends anti-cheat software that they put in the game to stop people who play on Linux from hacking the game runs at the kernel level of your computer's OS. Now, for those that don't know what that means, you have the application level, you have the input level, you have the driver level, and then you have the kernel level. The kernel level is where all the operating functions of the OS to make your computer run in the things as simple as how your mouse moves are stored. That's where all that info is. Anything in the kernel level can read anything above its level of security, or under its level of security. The kernel is ring 0. It has access to your entire computer. It does not have to ask permissions. This thing could legitimately go check what you've been storing in whatever program, even a password manager or Chrome's bank account autosave your credit card feature, and it could just take it.
Mm-hmm.
And
honestly, this sounds all kinds of illegal.
It isn't illegal because it's part of the OS and the way it's designed. There's nothing hidden about it. There's no special laws that protect a section of a computer. It's just this thing has the massive potential to be misused, and it's Tencent that owns Riot now.
Yep.
Are you going to trust them with the access to your computer at the kernel level? I don't think so.
Didn't Huawei recently get done for some kind of shenanigans?
They believe they're in the process of being done for shenanigans.
Yeah, and they're basically the Chinese government.
Yeah. Despite them kind of waving their hands and saying, no, we're really not.
No, if you're allowed to operate in China, it means that you've got some kind of tie to the CCP.
Yes.
Yeah, you need to either be a Chinese native company or have special permission from their government officials to operate there. You're a China bot if you're allowed to operate in China without a parent Chinese company.
Yup. So as you said in the host list, if you haven't uninstalled League yet, get rid of it.
Do it. Get that crap off your computer.
It's not even just about spying though. Like, it's just a dumb idea to let programs interfere with the kernel level of your OS. It's just not. It's not wise, because every mistake that gets made in there is a massive detriment to everything built on top of it.
Yeah, as soon as they tweak something that they really shouldn't have, or just something goes wrong, they can potentially brick your computer.
Well, not just that, but you can't reallocate system resources that get stolen at that level.
No, you cannot.
No, it's whatever. This effectively also means for you League players that you may very well have to install the majority of the game on whatever drive your OS is on.
Yeah, which for some people is not an option.
Yeah, this should be a turnoff for a lot of people, and you need to get this crap off your
most
PC.
Most people won't know about it, and
I know
they won't know what it means.
Yeah, anyone technically minded will be able to figure it out, but a lot of people just don't care.
Anybody that has passing knowledge of how OSs work should be horrified at this.
Yes.
Maybe you let a really trusted antivirus software run at the kernel level, the OS, and a couple other first-party.
There's no such thing as a trusted antivirus.
Too many
people remember old school Norton to begin with.
What do you mean old school? They're still bad.
Yeah, but old school Norton would actually just brick your computer.
If you tried to uninstall it, it would brick your computer. If you let it run for too long, it would brick your computer.
And then there was that one that was discovered, or was it Avast, I think, was recently found to be collecting and selling data.
Yeah, I am so glad I got rid of Avast.
I was using Avast, and I had to uninstall it when I saw that.
Well,
I actually don't even use an antivirus program. I just decided, you know what? I can't think of any that aren't going to either A, be spyware, or B, put a massive disproportionate burden on my computer just to have it installed. So I'm just not going to bother. I'll wear that risk.
Yeah. Avast got really bad actually as adware because it would be constantly making pop-ups on your desktop.
Well, it would try to sell itself in the base program all the time.
Yep.
But the big problem with recommending Avast to people after a certain point was, unless you're there to install it for them, it's became one of those programs where if you don't hit the custom install button when you're installing something, it's going to try and dump a billion pieces of bloatware on your PC.
It's gonna be like installing Candy Crush or something.
Or something. I forget exactly what it installed, but
It was a mess of junk that you did not need.
I just wish you'd stop getting these applications that you need them for work, but if you're not paying attention when you install them, they'll slap Norton on your system or some variation.
It's true that, you know, just using the internet and going to websites is enough that you can get viruses injected on your system. There's no way of getting around that. They're always out there. It's always a risk. But having an antivirus program like on your computer 24/7 just doesn't eliminate risks. It just adds different ones in place of the ones that you're suppressing. So it really just doesn't seem like an idea that is strictly meritorious anymore. Like, if I suspect that I've got a virus, I can just install one and find out.
Yeah,
I can install an antivirus and then scan then. But the rest of the time, I don't need that crap on my system.
The only one I really keep on my system full time is Malwarebytes.
That one I keep. I don't like it permanently installed because it will try to do stuff. But I'll pull it out if something goes wrong.
It tries to update at really inconvenient times.
Like, that thing will try to do stuff when you're not looking, and it will always be asking you to do crap.
Yeah.
If you keep it turned on all the time. So I don't keep Malwarebytes permanently installed, but I do keep a little folder of the installer of in case of emergency, press button.
Yeah. I keep it permanently installed, but I just leave it inactive.
Yeah, I'm just using Windows regular firewall right now and hoping for the best.
Yeah, Windows regular firewall is completely pointless.
Yeah, no. It's awful.
But the best defense that you've got against viruses is to just not visit shady sites.
It's just
like, if you don't visit piracy sites, if you don't visit torrent sites, if you don't visit porn sites, if you don't visit any of that crap, and I don't visit any of that crap, I just don't have to worry about like 90% of virus contract.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I visit a certain farm quite regularly nowadays to get my news.
Well, I think news should probably be in quotes.
Yeah.
I trust it more than I trust any of the quote-unquote news sites.
That doesn't make it trustworthy. It just makes it more trustworthy.
Slightly. All right.
As soon as image boards and forums become unfashionable, I'm sure that the mainstream will take them over. 10 years too late.
All right. Moving on. One actually we didn't have an article for, but it's just a tiny little nugget. We railed on Anthem last week. BioWare has confirmed that they are going to be attempting a 2.0.
Just give it up already, people.
Yeah, I don't see them having any success.
It's not impossible that they could do a Final Fantasy. It's not impossible. But I just don't believe in the Western development sphere to be able to do it. Not because they lack the technical ability, but because they lack the will and backing.
Yeah.
Here's the real question about that in particular, though. Why the heck would you try it with Anthem? Anthem is not an established IP. You just done goofed. Final Fantasy had a established IP behind it, a name that people kind of sort of knew existed at the time. Now Yoshi P is really well known after Final Fantasy 14. People were kind of aware of him before.
Nobody trusts him as far as we can throw him.
But we trust him to troll us, though.
Yeah, that's
and he doesn't troll in a mean-spirited way. So
yeah.
And when he says, the thing that I can tell that I trust Yoshi P is that when he says you think you do but you don't, I actually believe him.
Yes. On the other hand, you've also got No Man's Sky, which is not AAA. It was a small studio and it had a very dedicated fan base.
Yeah, they could not afford to cut their losses on that as a company. They had to go for it. It makes sense with them. Yeah, Anthem can afford to be written off as we done goofed.
Yeah, for No Man's Sky, it was either we move forward or we're done.
It was our entire company's
But this is just, it smells like sunk cost fallacy though, right? That
Yeah.
they feel that it can't be written off because that project was just in development hell for so long. It ate up so much money. It went through so many revisions that surely it must be close to being able to be a viable product. And the thing is that there is still that weird hardcore of people who really love the game.
Well, every game seems to develop one of these, no matter how bad or good it is.
But the interpretation of that varies. If the company interprets that as we have this many players and this many of them are whales, how many whales will we get if we magnify the user base? What they don't understand is that all the whales are still playing. Like all the whales that game will ever have are still playing.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes
yeah, it's not going to work.
Yeah, sometimes it's dedication to the franchise. Sometimes it's sunk cost fallacy. But yeah.
Sometimes it's just crazy people that just, for some reason, really like your video game.
Yeah, you get a few of those as well.
But I don't know, like the thing is, like, I think that if you're going to do this project, then you don't have BioWare do it because you're still wasting BioWare. You're wasting BioWare resources. They need somebody in there to crack the whip on them and get them back to basics. And they need to trot out another Mass Effect. And when I say another Mass Effect, I don't mean a sequel to Mass Effect. I mean another game that... I don't even mean the first one. I mean another game that is of that mold, where they set out open-endedly to do something that they actually have the talent and support to do, as opposed to setting out open-endedly to do something which is 100% playing against type and is being dictated from above.
Yeah.
Like they need to, in order to validate their continued existence as a studio, they need a smash hit, another Mass Effect game, another game that disturbs their reputation in a positive fashion to the extent that Mass Effect did. Because I mean, they had a great reputation before, but they modernized that reputation with Mass Effect, and they need to update their reputation again by managing to hit as hard. But they have to hit on the same target. They need to market to the same audience as Mass Effect or as Neverwinter Nights. Like, they need to go in that direction. The Anthem audience is not an audience that appreciates the talents that BioWare historically have had, because there's no story in Anthem to speak of.
No, it's something like, we have robot suits, there are aliens, everyone hide behind the wall. Give us your money.
If you're going to build a team... if you're going to have a team work on Anthem and try and update it, you should, have somebody with an actual vision come in to head it up and select people to work on it who they think can actually lend their talents to that genre. And then the rest of the talent, the rest of that BioWare talent, you send them off to do something they're actually good at.
Anyway, that's a rant we've had before. So
You mean locking their writers in a room and having them try and come up with a terrible ending?
Ugh, no.
That's what they're good at.
Let's not do that again.
Well, because the thing is that they never admitted their mistake for that, so it's still a danger. It never stopped being a danger of something that will happen to another storyline-based game. Like, they're working on another Dragon Age. That's supposedly their big current project.
I mean, at least Dragon Age is what BioWare is good at.
Genre terms, yes. I think it's a weak IP, though.
Yeah, it is. Like, the first game was great. The second game kind of stripped everything that was great out of it.
Well, most IPs that are not Mario or Zelda get consumed over time. Eventually, people get tired of them. That's why you can't just trot out Mass Effect Andromeda 2. Like, they have consumed all of the goodwill. Like, the mistakes that you build up over time, over multiple games, even if the overall game is good, I'm not saying that Andromeda was good, but even if it was good, the mistakes that are made over the course of games build up over time, and people wear down on the franchise because the number of times they have to grant forgiveness for something that they don't like will have hit a critical point. Unless you're Mario or Zelda, in which case apparently you can get away with murder. So Dragon Age, I don't feel has enough points left to be worth even doing another entry. No. I think that they need to either buy an IP that hasn't had a decent game in a long time and build something fresh on top of it, like they did with Neverwinter Nights, or they need to come up with a new IP, a la Mass Effect, and then build something new out of that. I don't think that trotting out another Dragon Age is going to be the salvation that they think it is.
No.
If I was them, Star Wars is such a shoddy state right now that it could use another good story in it somewhere.
But
to
the
fill a
Star
hole for
Wars,
Star Wars fans?
Star Wars has just got a game. It would be a dead letter.
Yeah, unfortunately.
They've got a team that is doing Star Wars.
Like, if
Yeah.
they could trot out KOTOR or something of that level now, that would probably solve a lot of their problems.
No, because
But-
the KOTOR, there's too many rumors about the KOTOR license being pawned off to someone else. Like that,
Yeah.
it's probably in somebody's hands at this point.
Someone's greasy hands.
They can make a crappy Netflix series or something.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's like this, game devs. When you make a new IP, assuming everything goes right in your future, depending on how good that IP does with its very first release, you are given a fixed amount of franchise hype bar that you can spend, and every release drains more from that franchise hype bar, and that bar refills as years pass, but at a very, very slow rate.
Well, the amount that it depletes depends on how many mistakes you make.
Yeah,
Well,
mistakes.
If you can release a perfect game, the hype will never stop.
That's
Yeah, so-
kind of what Mario and Zelda did, to a degree.
Yeah,
early
like
on.
after Ocarina of Time, there wasn't anybody who was less hyped for Majora's Mask. The only reason Majora's Mask didn't do as well is because it abused people.
It was, as far
By
as
being
Zelda
too-
goes, it was dark.
It was dark, it was strange, and it was incredibly difficult compared to Ocarina of Time.
But it was
was-
so good.
It was the Digimon Tamers of Zelda.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, very much so.
that's
a good
why
comparison.
people kept playing Zelda up to Skyward Sword, because Skyward Sword, okay, it was okay, but as far as Zelda games go, it was pretty weak.
So yeah, don't burn your franchise hype bar out.
Yeah, it is a
Devs.
currency, and you can overspend.
You gotta recover some of it, and the only way to get it back is time.
No, well, you not abusing your fans could also help.
Yes,
Well, yeah, but that just stops excess drain on the bar.
Like the reality is that the likes of No Man's Sky and Final Fantasy, they managed to get refund on some of their reckless expenditure by respecting their fan base and then making good on their promises.
Yeah.
They still didn't come out ahead, not until the long term, but they did manage to recoup some of those losses, and I think that. Like,
So
for
that-
instance, in the case of Anthem, one of the things that they mentioned that they were doing in the meantime was that they would keep the store updated.
yeah.
But I think that they could have survived without mentioning that at all.
I mean, we kind of touched on it last week, but Blizzard is a good example of what happens when you overspend on goodwill.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, they're empty at this point.
They're well into
completely
the red
gone.
at this point.
Yeah, they're done. Customers see a Blizzard product now, and instead of it being a market quality, it's going to be oh those guys.
Yeah,
Wait,
but
didn't,
let's not.
yeah, maybe we'll check back when they're not trying to nickel and dime us to death.
How's Hearthstone doing these days? I don't hear anybody talking about
It
it.
keeps
anymore.
dropping
exists.
off. It's losing players because, like I said before, they made a whole lot of basic mistakes for a trading card game, and they had everybody and their mother calling them out for this, and nobody at the team listened.
And then
Yeah.
Blitzchung.
And then Blitzchung.
Yeah, and then Blitzchung happened, and basically all the Hearthstone players that mattered were hacked off.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's that. Who wants to pick the next one?
I haven't even looked down the list of these yet.
Let's see. We have
We have more Devil May
Do we-
Cry.
Yeah, this is a small one. We can do this one. So if Niche Gamer will load. There we go. So Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition is getting even more features. Aside from stance dancing and style switching, we have co-op for Bloody Palace.
Yay.
I don't
So,
even know what Bloody Palace is.
Bloody Palace is the you fight consecutive waves of enemies that get harder and harder up to floor 100. And you try to make it to the very end, and the very end is always something absolutely absurd that's stupid difficult. So Bloody Palace has multiplayer. Bloody Palace was something we wanted in Devil May Cry 5 and did not get. We were very sad about that. And Matt, what's his name? The other guy who's at Capcom and gets us the Devil May Cry news had said he heard us, but the development team that was working on Devil May Cry 5 just wasn't together at that moment right then. They had been set up to work on different projects, but he would do his best to still try and get us multiplayer Bloody Palace. So it seems like he made good on that promise, just in a different game.
Oh yeah, so that's only a good thing. It's just more Devil May Cry, more classic Devil May Cry.
Yeah, more Devil May Cry 3 goodness.
Let's just pretend the other one doesn't exist.
What other one?
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Dino's not a thing that exists. Much like a certain anime of a certain of entering a franchise you like, that doesn't exist either.
There's a lot of things that don't exist.
Yeah. Like
Alrighty.
the dub of Danganronpa 3. That doesn't exist. I don't know what
Alright.
you're talking about. If you ever want to see Funimation at their absolute worst in localization,
Oh,
Danganronpa 3.
yeah.
You don't even need context for what the heck's going on. Just go watch it.
It's bad.
At the point where Jamie Marchi as Junko says "Yes, Queen," I think is the point when you'll lose it.
Yes.
I think that I've probably had about my fill of Danganronpa animes,
They've never made a good anime.
and I've only watched one.
The best
Yeah.
anime of Danganronpa is Drat. Danganronpa abridged thing.
Yeah,
That's the only good one.
poor Falero.
Yeah. Things
I
kind
wish
of went
Tumblr
south
hadn't beat him up. He quit making it because Tumblr was raging at him.
because Tumblr exists, basically.
Yeah.
Tumblr only does two things, which is get fat and rage about stuff.
Yeah. Alrighty. Let me see. There's that bit from Todd Sweeney. There's a Vanillaware game, and we've got, I guess, the Sonic movie, which is where everyone seems to have disappeared to this week.
Lol.
I'm counting on you to cover Sonic movie stuff, Fern, because I haven't really followed the news on it at all.
Well, there's not a whole lot really to say about it, other than that the reviews and the impressions that people are giving have been largely positive. It's not god awful.
Well, it's got Jim Carrey in it, so you can rely on Jim Carrey-isms to carry the normies, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Provided that you don't pay any attention to anything he says when he's not on camera.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
but that's true for
Because
most
he is,
actors.
like most actors, he is completely balmy off camera.
Yeah. He's a different kind of balmy on camera, but he's supposed to be. So, yeah, the game... I haven't watched the movie yet. I probably will once it comes out on Netflix or something. But, yeah, apparently it's respectful to the fan base, respectful to the franchise. Jim Carrey does a good Robotnik.
Which, I couldn't see it at first, but the idea has grown on me over time.
It has. Like, at
Because-
first...
Robotnik is really made of ham.
Oh, yeah, he is so gloriously ham. Apparently he does, in the movie, he does start calling himself Eggman at the end, where he goes completely off the deep end and becomes closer to the Robotnik we know from the games.
Well, Eggman is actually his name, so... Like, the character is named Eggman in more countries, including the original country, than it is named Robotnik. So-
Yeah, it was a localization thing for the first few games. But since then, they've kind of amalgamated the two, so he is...
No, that's not true. There are 3 games in grand total, and out of the entire franchise, and I'm not just talking about games, I'm talking about all of the material ever produced for Sonic. Apparently, there are only 3 things, and there are three of the games that actually acknowledge them as being the same character. In fact, there are extant pieces of modern games where his actual name is stated as to being unknown.
Yeah, that's...
The actual
Kinda
truth
weird.
is that there is no consistency.
that's the
There
truth.
is no consistency.
But yeah, when they actually do bother to, put some effort into it, he's still Robotnik, but he's also Eggman.
You keep
Anyway.
telling yourself that, man. I know you really want to. Everybody knows Big the Cat's the real star of the show, but whatever
Oh, yeah.
floats your boat.
Everyone
The
loves
cat.
Big the Cat. So anyway, yeah, the movie is not awful. And as far as video game adaptations go, that's actually high praise. It is not awful. But it's done really, really well in the box office because people were willing to support it because the producers actually listened. Much
And
to
what else
the
are they going to go
salt,
and watch anyway?
much to the absolute salt and screaming of certain other people and of a certain other movie, which we should.
Oh, Birds of Prey fans are mad.
Oh yeah,
Birds of Prey fans? What? Birds of Prey fan?
fan singular.
I'm not sure that there are plural fans.
Yeah,
There's another F word I want to call them, but that would get us demonetized or something.
we're not monetized in the first place, but don't say it anyway. Yeah, the people who made Birds of Prey are really salty because they lost to a cartoon rat and a video game adaptation of all things.
That's still better than they deserve.
It is. Like, Suicide Squad was bad as a movie. It was terrible. But at least it had a little bit of merit. It did not need a sequel. In fact,
the thing is that it didn't need a sequel. The sequel was bad. The marketing was bad.
yes.
Apparently, the lead actress does a decent job, but there's only like one other actress in the entire movie who also does a passable job, and everyone else is just awful and wooden.
That is one of the few things I will give full credit to Suicide Squad for, is the girl who plays Harley does an excellent job.
I from what I've seen, I haven't seen Suicide Squad, nor have I seen the new one. But from what I have seen of the clips of the movie that people have put up online and whatnot, it seems like she plays a decent Harley Quinn, but it's not. It doesn't strike me as being Harley Quinn. It just strikes me as being some psychopathic platinum blonde.
Oh yeah, Harley Quinn is at her most Harley Quinnest when she's alongside the Joker.
Like, when Harley Quinn, as far as I'm concerned, is Batman animated series Harley Quinn, and every other Harley Quinn is a gutless pretender.
Okay, I agree with that.
Oodles and oodles of Joker.
And as far as I'm aware, she didn't really exist before the anime series in any the animated series in any meaningful fashion. Like,
I don't think she existed at all before the animated series.
I think
Well,
she
I'm
was
not a comic
kind of
person,
just
so.
there, but that's about all you could really say.
but
Yeah, I
it's
don't
like-
think she was there at all before the animated series.
And I've never heard anybody in real life who has that accent to
There's
that
some
sort of warped degree.
some sort
like
of
that-
ridiculously overblown Valley Jersey accent or something. I don't know.
But the thing is that accent worked on a cartoon character. I don't think it works coming out of the mouth of an actual person.
No, it does not.
I need to find the clip of oodles and oodles of Jokerfish
Oodles and oodles of Jokerfish. But
from the animated series.
The thing is that to me, it seems like not only does Harley Quinn need the Joker to work, as much as that would disgust the feminists who made this movie, but there isn't a Joker with which this Harley Quinn works.
the Joker they've actually supposedly were going to pair up with is an abomination.
Yeah, like one that everybody's furiously trying to forget. But there is no incarnation of the Joker with which this type of Harley Quinn fits. Like, there's no... Because this Harley Quinn has been designed to be a strong, independent woman, whereas Harley Quinn classically is about a character that plays off the Joker.
Yeah.
As an auxiliary to the Joker. Like, ultimately, she was designed to be Joker's arm candy accessory, and there's no getting away from that because it's a part of who she is. Like, as a character, defining herself too much by the Joker was her syndrome.
That was her whole insanity. Yeah.
I really don't think that you can have Harley Quinn without the Joker because it doesn't work. Like, and they try and arbitrarily jam in, her getting over the Joker, but that's just her acting like blindly psychopathic. It's not. There's no actual growth taking place. There's no character development.
Yeah, if Harley actually got over the Joker, she would probably be a lot more sane and have absolutely no reason for doing the things she's doing now.
No, the thing is that they didn't take a character and they didn't even take an archetype. They just took arbitrary behavior and they called it a character.
Yeah.
And I don't think that anybody will fondly remember this Harley Quinn any more than people fondly remember Leto's Joker.
No. So anyway, back to Sonic. I might be a bit premature, but are we actually starting to enter what could pass as a golden age of video game movies?
No.
Based on what?
Based on the fact that they're not absolute dog's breakfast anymore.
Which ones?
Probably Detective Pikachu, and that's about it.
Did you see it?
I'm going to see it tonight, actually. It's sitting on Netflix. I'm going to go watch it.
Because I haven't heard that it's good. Like, I haven't heard that it's bad, but I haven't heard that it's good.
I've heard that it's largely alright. And
If-
largely alright
Is that what passes for a golden age in
I
our
was about
era?
to say, if golden age of video game movies is you don't want to gouge your eyeballs out, I think we need to up our standards a bit.
Yeah, I think we do, but our standards were so very, very low beforehand.
Like,
I mean, Resident Evil, anyone?
okay,
Or the
so
House of the Dead movies? Basically anything you bowl touched.
the thing is, the thing you need to keep in mind is that the last big name one was probably the Warcraft movie.
Which was, yeah, okay.
No, it was on the bad end of mediocre.
Yeah.
It was like, you know, this is a sort of a 4 out of 10 movie at best.
Yeah.
And you know, like 50% of the video game movies that have been made historically were Resident Evil movies.
Good grief, why you remind me of this fact?
I don't know
that
if it's a
dude's-
fact or not, but it feels like it's true.
It feels
That
like
dude's
it's
wife
true.
needed to be
Let's
the
see.
pro tag of like 1 billion movies, dude. That's why.
And they were so bad.
Let's see: Resident Evil, Apocalypse, Resident Evil Extinction, Resident Evil Afterlife, Resident Evil Retribution, Resident Evil Final Chapter.
It wasn't the final chapter.
It was
I'm
not.
not really surprised by that.
Like, we had, let's see, recent ones. Let me scroll down. Recent video game movies. We got the Sonic one. We got Pikachu. Rampage, I actually enjoyed for all the wrong reasons. Like, it was a movie that it was stupid, and it was a movie that knew it was stupid. And it was, you know, Dwayne Johnson being stupid.
When was the last time they made a Rampage video game?
89? No, actually, there was some more since then.
2006
Yeah, there was
on the
one.
PS2,
There you go.
GameCube, and was re-released for the Wii.
Yeah. Let's see. We had Resident Evil, the final chapter, which is not going to be the final chapter. But upcoming, we have the Monster Hunter movie, which is being done in Japan. So, I mean, it could be... No, it won't be. It's going to have cool special effects.
The props looked good.
The props did look very good.
Well, they
there's
aren't seriously rebooting Mortal Kombat, are they?
I mean, the Mortal Kombat movie, again, enjoyable, not good.
Where is it being made? This is important.
This is important. It's been made by Warner Brothers.
Oh no.
Let me see who's directing it.
In the United States. Directed by Simon McCoy.
Ooh.
No, that thing's boned, man. Give up on that one.
It's going to be based around Jax's fight against depression, isn't it?
I really hope not.
How much
It's
you
not.
want to
It's
bet?
gonna, it's gonna be Sonya Blade taking selfies and talking about how she's such a strong, empowered woman. You know I'm right.
I really
Yep.
wrong.
I'm going to have a look at this thingy. Let's see who's on the cast list.
Let me see.
The first character on the cast list is Jax.
Oh boy.
Oh my goodness, this looks awful.
What else we have coming up? We have an Uncharted movie, which I mean,
Uncharted's already a movie. Why are they even making it?
it's basically you rip off Indiana Jones, you make the protagonist insufferably smug, and you've got Uncharted.
Speaking of which, isn't it free at the moment or something?
I think so.
It's Bioshock's free this month.
Also, you cram Claudia Black in there. Because, I mean, everyone seems to cram Claudia Black in there somewhere. Let's see.
It seems superfluous.
Does a bit.
That's what I'm saying. Like, because it's so close to being a movie already.
Well, maybe
on the shortlist
it's
for
all-
some of the cast, you've got Chris Hemsworth, Matthew McConaughey, Chris Pine, or Woody Harrelson for Sully. I could not see Chris Hemsworth doing Sully.
Yeah, I can't either.
Unless
Well,
this is
may-
supposed to be a young
How does it even
Sully.
make sense?
It doesn't.
Sully. I'm trying to recall who Sully is.
He's the old
But
guy with the mustache and the cigar.
He's
they
the
should have got
buddy.
I know who they should have got. They should have got what's his name? Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, Bruce Campbell. Hang on. It is supposed to be a prequel, so this is supposed to be a young Sully.
Oh, that's dumb.
Yeah.
But the thing is that they never seem to realize that nobody wants that movie.
Oh,
Like-
wow.
Nobody wants a prequel because they just won't recognize anyone.
Yeah, Nathan Drake will be Tom Holland,
Who's that?
the latest Spider-Man.
I didn't see the latest Spider-Man, so.
Like, he's okay. He makes a good Spider-Man, but I don't see him as
But
being a
isn't
Nathan
Spider-Man
Drake.
always like a gangly geek?
Yes. Yes, he is.
So how do we go from that to young Indiana Jones?
Yeah.
I mean, Uncharted's already the most normie of normies like video game series out there.
Yeah,
It really
So
is.
maybe
Andrew
maybe
Clavin
they're-
plays it. That should tell you everything you need to know. He was born when the dinosaurs are still alive.
Good grief. Other
And-
movies coming up. There's another Tomb Raider again. There is.
Are they rebooting it again, or is it a sequel?
I think this is a sequel to the reboot.
Oh, okay. So they've rebooted it previously. Is it rebooted the way? So is it rebooted to match the game reboot?
Probably not.
was there
yes,
rest
yes, it
reduction
is.
involved? Okay, then yes.
Yeah, because I'm just looking at the poster for it, and it's Lara Croft standing there covered in dirt.
If she's dirty and there has been a reduction surgery, then it is that version.
Yeah, she does have a more natural size bust line.
Well, to be fair, didn't Angelina Jolie have a mastectomy anyway?
Yeah,
Didn't she get breast cancer or something?
I have no idea.
I don't know. It's celebrity news. I don't
So
follow
that
celebrity
would
news.
actually be kind of a bad taste joke in that case.
We also have coming up a Minecraft film somehow.
On the list of things that the world doesn't need at all.
That's right up there. There's a Mega Man film somewhere in production. A Metal Gear Solid film, which is basically...
Metal Gear Solid film.
Well, isn't Metal Gear Solid basically a film anyway?
No, it's two people growling into the radio at each other. That's totally what it is.
And every now and again,
also,
Otacon turns up and craps himself.
and also, I can't see how you can actually have Snake that isn't David Hayter.
Honestly, I don't think you could.
It's just like one of my Japanese animes.
There is a Call of Duty film, which is gun wank on screen, really. And there is a Detective Pikachu sequel.
The thing already got greenlit for a sequel?
Yup. Because it
It's
made
got
all
Pikachu
of the
in it.
money.
Pikachu prints money.
Yeah.
Period. End. It's not Pokemon that prints money. It's Pikachu that prints money.
Yeah.
Pikachu is the logo for Pikaman.
He is the logo. But it's also Ryan Reynolds, and Ryan Reynolds currently also prints money.
It drives me nuts when I'm at the office and people expect me to know all these actors and celebrities like I'm supposed to care about their lives.
Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool.
Oh, okay.
The movie Deadpool. Which he actually did a good job of, so not complaining.
Yeah, another thing that sticks in the craw of the Birds of Prey fans, because one of their early excuses was that it's because it was R-rated, that's why it didn't do well at the box office. It's like, but Deadpool was,
Deadpool was.
and even though that movie was bad, it still did well at the box office.
Yeah.
The only person I've heard say anything nice about Birds of Prey is my sister, and she loves it to death.
Which
Your
is,
sister's like a feminist drone, though.
Yeah. So that should tell you all you need to know about that movie.
yeah. All right. Anything else before we start wrapping up? Because we're hitting time.
I don't think so. I have the wrong channel pulled up. Let's see. No.
No.
I don't know what you guys talked about last week, so
No, I could not remember if we talked about the Tim Sweeney thing, but it's not really that big.
did you
It's-
talk about the Nvidia thing and the Blizzard thing tied into the Nvidia thing and
I
all
don't-
the
I
other
don't think so.
implications? And the Stadia thing and how
We-
Stadia is now in a
We
state
did
of
do this-
perpetual humiliation.
we
Actually-
did the Stadia thing.
Which
But,
reminds me, actually, there has been an announcement in this last week for new games coming to Stadia. And
They only did that because it made the news that there were no announcements about Stadia again.
Yeah.
No, they did it because of the Nvidia thing. Because
Well-
of Nvidia's new streaming service and them losing games.
yeah. Like they
after
don't.
the fact.
They've got these 5 new games, which I will tell you are Lost Words, the Panzer Dragoon make, Spitlings, which is it looks like Breakout, honestly. Stacks on Stacks on Stacks, and the Serious Sam collection.
Right. Well, if you didn't talk about the Nvidia thing, I think we should mention it because I think it's important. Because it's about digital ownership ultimately.
I think we did touch briefly on it, but yeah.
So Nvidia have their service, right? For free, you can try it out, but for like a token subscription, like $5 or $10 or something like that a month, you can have access to their streaming service. And from all accounts, it performs way better than Stadia does. Although it's still a streaming service, so it's never going to be a great experience, relatively speaking, compared to local, unless you have a gutless computer and just want to see what 1080p looks like with all the settings turned up. But basically, the way that it worked was very, very user-friendly, very, very simplified. And so basically, it was for your subscription, Nvidia rent you a virtual machine on their servers. And so you log in using your app for this program that for their streaming service, and that gives you access to a virtual machine. And then on that virtual machine, you just log into Steam or whatever service or Origin, whatever choice you want, and then you play the games on their computer, which is streamed to you. So ultra simplified, very, very effective, and everybody in the industry hated it. So basically, everything was supported by default, and companies have been falling all over themselves to withdraw their approval for this, and so more and more things have been blocked from use. Because you're signing on your Steam account. It just happens to be on their hardware, so you've got access to everything that they have, and they've got Steam's library basically on their server. So if you need to install something, it takes like a second.
Yep.
But so it's ultra end user friendly. Makes a lot of sense from a practical perspective, and it's intuitive because of that. But Blizzard is the most recent. Well, Blizzard and Activision are the most recent people to withdraw their approval from it and just refuse to allow their games to be played on the service. So you can't use the Blizzard launcher or anything.
Unlike everyone else, though, they waited till the service actually launched, left their products up there for a few days, and then pulled them down.
Yeah, but this is part of this. The reason this is strange is because supposedly there was a pre-existing agreement with every company that at the time of going live that they would approve it, because not a lot of companies, they didn't let their stuff survive until launch. Like Capcom pulled theirs, and a bunch of other people pulled theirs. But the Blizzard ones hit them pretty hard. The issue here. The big issue, the reason I think this is important, is that ultimately the only thing you're doing is playing your game on a borrowed computer. That's the only thing you're doing. You're playing their game, the game they made. You purchased it, and you're playing it on the hardware of your choice.
Mm-hmm.
Why exactly do they have the right to forbid people from doing that? It seems like it would be legally kind of murky to deal with. Like, they're all furiously jamming, lawyer speak into their end-user license agreements and stuff to try and cover all of this crap up. I mean, that obviously the reason is that they want their own streaming services. They want to fracture the market like, cable TV.
Even
where you've got 5 billion packages. There's something that, Netflix was able to delay that effect in streaming services for a year or two.
Yeah,
before it started to refracture.
It's refractured something horrible because now everyone's got their own TV streaming service, and they've withdrawn a lot of their stuff from Netflix.
But having seen that play out, the video games publishers were hell-bent on having a fractured market to begin with. And so the thing is, they want to provide a streaming service, but the thing with Nvidia is, unlike Netflix, Nvidia was never streaming any software to anyone. They were simply providing you with a virtual machine for a subscription. That's all that they were fundamentally doing.
Mm-hmm.
You were signing in to your account on, let's say, Steam, on their computer, installing things on your account, and playing games on your account, which would generate, achievements on your account with Steam. It would record your playtime, store things on their cloud server. There was no difference other than the fact that you were using somebody else's box. There was no, as far as I know, there is no provision for not being allowed to log in on your computer and play a video game you've purchased on a computer other than the one that you installed it on, unless you're playing Spore. And let's be real, who's playing Spore?
Surprisingly, a few people.
Yeah, actually, I've seen Spore coming up now and again lately. I don't even know why. People have been posting YouTube videos of them making Thing X in Spore.
There's one person in particular who has popped up on my thread lately playing Spore. Like, she's modded the absolute hell out of the game, and then she'll just sit there and make, Safajiva.
That's the only thing. That's the only thing that's good about that game is the creature creator.
It is. Yeah, it is. The game itself is crap, but the creature creator and the cell stages are great.
But this is why I think that this is important, is because there seems to be very foggy legal precedent for the idea that you can, as a company, ban another company from renting out hardware, or ban the end user who has purchased your software from playing it on the hardware of their choice.
Mm-hmm.
And yet it has just been taken as a given that they can get away with this, that they can do this. Because I don't really see why they should. Why should they be allowed to? Is there a reason? Can you think of one?
Nope.
So yeah, I think there's something to keep an eye on, because this was the closest thing that we'd seen to an actual practicable streaming service. Like, because I'm not very good at video games, I'm not too concerned about input lag, because I'm bad to begin with. So I could totally see myself using a service like this when I was like visiting family and they've got a decent internet connection and I can only take a crummy laptop with me. Well, I can totally see myself using a service like this, where it's all simplified right down to the bare bones, and I have my entire game library available to play my games that I've already purchased without the need for an additional purchase. Like, it seems like a really, a really user-friendly service that makes sense. And I'm never going to be able to use it. Why? Because a legal precedent has been enacted that, as far as I can see, doesn't exist.
The only argument I can try to see that they might be using is that people would not buy the product of the streaming service at all if these companies' work was not selling it. And that might be the way their lawyers are trying to argue it, but still, I don't think it's a very strong argument.
I wouldn't have bought a PC at all if you couldn't play PC games on it.
Yeah, it's not a strong argument, but it's one I could see some normie judge buying.
Like that would nail every single pre-built PC system manufacturer, distributor in the world simultaneously. All of them would suddenly be able to be blackmailed by the people that make the games that they designed to play. Because like all of the people who are producing pre-built PCs for the normie gamer market who don't really understand about building your own computer, like they're all marketing them with Call of Duty and with Overwatch and all that crap. And it would just give Blizzard and so forth an opportunity to get a slice of the pie. Something totally unjustified. Like that would be if a normie judge got that through, it would be appealed and appealed and appealed and appealed, and it would never end. Yeah,
I don't know. There might be some other part of. I'm pretty sure Nvidia is a American company.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm blatantly no expert on the legal aspect of things, but speaking as a layperson, legally speaking, it seems weird that Blizzard can ban me from playing a game that I paid for on somebody else's computer just because it's somebody else's computer.
Every major tech company has been fighting over these for years now to end private ownership of any of their products. They want to sell licenses.
The thing is that they haven't done it yet, and if they ever make an overt move in that direction, the consumer commissions in a lot of countries will slam down on them like a ton of bricks. So it's pretty dubious whether they'll ever succeed at that. And I feel like the reason why it's important to talk about this is so that they can't slip that in under the radar. Obviously, Nvidia's legal people don't feel like they've got a case.
yeah, there is probably either a contract that these people signed with NVIDIA beforehand, because I bet you NVIDIA has a working contract with literally every single major game publisher out there, because they're just that type of company.
It might sound strange, but I think that the reason is actually a bit weirder than that they haven't bothered to take any legal action. They haven't explored their legal options, and I think that reason is the coronavirus. Pretty much all of these tech companies source a huge amount of their components from China, and their revenue stream is in serious doubt right now. They can't afford to engage in major legal battles right now. It would be a terrible, terrible time for it, because they don't know if they're going to have a supply chain open for the next 6 months.
Oh, that's true. The China buck has been put on hold while the Wu Flu and Wu Flu Chan ravaged the country.
Winnie the Flu.
There it is.
You sounded really apprehensive about that one, Fern. For some reason.
I was just waiting for a poo edge crack.
Well, it's necessary. We're talking about the CCP here.
Yeah, it's got to be done. Anyway, we should wrap up.
Righto.
All right, folks. Closing comments go. I don't have an email topic of the week this week.
I'm not very good at video games, as it turns out. Who'd have thunked?
Yeah, I don't think I've got anything to add. My week is going to be rough this week, so I probably won't have time to play games again.
I'm also
Not
starting to
looking
get an
forward to it.
invasion of doggos.
At least-
I would like. Okay.
I was just continuing to say, at least, although my work is going to be hard this week, it will not depend so much on other people. So that will at least relieve some of my stress a little bit.
Yeah, that at least makes the work. Honestly, that makes the work easier if you don't gotta worry about other people. But yeah, I would like to thank the county of Gwinnett County in Georgia for the birthday gift they sent me.
You got a stamp.
I got a stamp. It even had wrapping paper on it. Yeah, I got my notary thing in the mail.
Do you have to be like publicly listed somewhere so people can bother you now?
No, they don't have to. They can't bother me. But I can open up a notary service and charge people exactly $2 and no more or less per signing if I want.
When was that rule made?
I don't know, but it was on the test.
Huh.
Was that made in like 1800, where $2 was like a week's pay?
I don't know. It probably came around in like the 1930s or something. But yeah, so it had wrapping paper and everything. The little weather paper, protection paper they put around the box. And yeah, they sent it to me. And it was on my birthday, and it was real nice of the Gwinnett County Clerk's office to send me a birthday gift. So, all right, folks. We'll see y'all next week. Sayonara. Bye-bye.